Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, Paranormal Portal Podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
Howdy, gatekeepers. How's everybody doing tonight? Cowboys and country specters. I giggled when I came up with that title because I'm thinking they're not really cowboys, some of them, they're not really southern ghosts. It's more like country specters. So that's what I mean by that. And ghostly ladies, and a couple of them have some pretty famous stories you may have heard. Maybe you haven't heard of them at all, and tonight will be the first time you heard about them. But the reason I gathered them all together, and I'm wearing this How to Ma'am hat, is because how do you really put this into words? All of us out there seeking stuff like, paranormal investigators, and people want answers, and whether you're a medium or you have abilities or whatever's got you in and involved in this and interested in these things, a lot of us find, when we're going on investigations, like a lot of my friends did this weekend. And I'm so sorry I couldn't be there, and we'll talk more about that. But the thing is this, it's good to have a history on a place, yeah? But tonight is like cautionary tales, kind of interwoven in the stories of, you try to be careful not to say, okay, because you saw an apparition of a lady go by, it must be this person, and this is what she's trying to say, and this is why she's here, and he or she. It's so easy to do that, and I think that that's one of the number one things that we might have gotten to the point of over my 50 years and looking back, especially when some of these older stories that we've been looking through over the last couple of months, is that what if we're going into a place and it's supposedly haunted by, Lizzie Borden, and because it was a horrific murder there, because everybody thought she did it, and there's controversy or whether she did or not, or whether she was nuts, or whether there was abuse involved, all of these big questions. And we go into the house, and say you see an older woman's apparition go by, or a woman with, that looked like Lizzie, that had their hair up. Well, most women did, in so many centuries, have their hair up, especially if they were married. And that's not enough to say, there goes Lizzie Borden, is my point. And what are we missing if we do that? And what are we not just missing, but are we confusing the ghost as well as ourselves? So those are some things to think about tonight. Hello to all you wonderful gatekeepers out there. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Hello to Ann. Hello, Ann. How are you tonight? Like my hat. It's not my hat. I stole it. I borrowed it for the show. It's actually Mario's. But, and it fit right over the headphones. So but it's nice. It's his Indiana Jones hat. It's when he goes out looking for treasure and jumping over snakes and, dodging those great big stone boulders and stuff that have just been sitting there for 2,000 years, held up by like one little stick. And somebody walks by and bam, there goes this great big old boulder. But, such as the movies and adventures and stories. And that's the point of tonight. The story that grows from the little bit of history, and how it, that big game of paranormal telephone, where it's, it's a little bit of truth, and then there's this great big story around it. And you know what? The story, the true story, the root of the story, where it all came from to begin with, is so much more bizarre in some cases, Hey Gray, how you doing? Feeding time at the zoo. Hey Blue, how you doing? I know that you know what I'm talking about too. That one, in some of these, basically, there's a couple of like murder mysteries here tonight, and it's that one piece of evidence, or that evidence is somebody called wrong and it shoots the whole case off in a willy-nilly off to the wrong side. So there you go, all that can happen. Hello Donnie, I'm so sorry I missed you this weekend. Hello love, I'm glad you had a good time. Everybody that was supposed to be there was there. Let me tell you, that's number one. Number two, Laura, I love you, and Jim, my wonderful friends at KSPS, and Dave, and everybody there, Rob Guttrow, wonderful medium, fantastic. They got to meet him live this weekend and talk to the dead. How wonderful is that? And I'm sure it was an experience like none other, and we will definitely get together and be together again. Our next shot is in August during the bash. So things happen. Tonight, oh, I know Hoover House is absolutely awesome, Donnie. I've been saying it's not, you can't hardly even describe it, right, sweetheart? And but the thing is, this is why this was the final cha-chink. Everybody around me, we have several people that live in the house, and at each person's business there was at least one or two, in some case, one case three, people that were coming up with positive a certain little test. Now, what Cisco feels about that test or that thing or that whole shenanigans, it doesn't matter, because if I am no scientist, although I'm perfectly happy sitting here, just calmly eating my herbal stuff, and my whole family is doing that. It's like we've got this herbal Native American, Chinese, centuries old bubble around us taking care of, bing, 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 and, hopefully ricocheting stuff off for the past couple of years. But can I carry it to someone else? And some of my dear friends that were going are taking care of family members who are a little older, and some of them are a little older, and I would not have been able to forgive myself if something happened after, and you never really know, did I bring that there? Did I spread that? I heard they were also having some issues in the town too. Like I said, if it was just me and I wasn't affecting anybody else in close quarters, I wouldn't have thought anything about it, because, I'll walk up and daddy wear a mask, no, forget that stuff. Just me and my garlic and my herbs. But what if somebody's family member came up sick next week? I would never know. So now I don't have to guess. And that's why we did it. And I do believe everybody that was supposed to be there was there. And I thank you so much for thinking of me and wishing that I had been there. But if I had been there, would the same spirits get drawn? Would the same things have been done? Would other people have gotten through? Because I carry a lot of really, my spirit guides and my spirit, they're pistols, baby, and everything kind of changes. A lot of kids seem to show up, and I love that. But I think this weekend was supposed to be for the people that were there, and I wouldn't change that at all. So there's that, and my heart was broken all weekend thinking about it, but I couldn't help but smile, because I knew that some really, really cool things were going to go down. I just felt it. So we're going to do it again. Don't let that deter you. We will keep battling through this madness and everything else. But like I said, too many close friends taking care of people that I would worry about for the next month, and knowingly, and how many times have we said, she knew he had the flu, why did she bring him to daycare? He knew he had the flu, or he had a cold, why did he come into work? He could have stayed home a couple of days and nobody would have gotten sick. You could battle that stuff back and forth and all around, and there's a lot of truth to it, and it's just being responsible. It's not being crazy. And I have people that I'm taking care of too that I had to think about. So it wasn't about me this weekend. It was about the spirits and the people that went there. And I love you all. And I'm so glad I could have a small part in setting it up so that that could happen. And I would love to hear some stories about it. Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to them. Because it's anytime you walk into the Hoover, you're walking out different. the spirits and the messages that you're supposed to get, that's what you can hope for. What am I supposed to hear? And who's going to come in to tell me? Because sometimes that's the biggest surprise. When you go in with preconceived notions, you might be disappointed because the person you want to hear from isn't in that space right now, or you're not in that space right now. Think about that. That's why I always, when I sit down and do something like that, is what do I need to hear right now? What do you guys need to? Because they know more than I do, apparently. They have the cover to the box. At least they get glimpses of the cover to the box. We just have puzzle pieces we keep trying to put places, right? So anyway, let's say hi to everybody here. Hello, Jose. How you doing, sweetie? So good to see you here tonight. Gray, again, you said it's feeding time at the zoo. I hope you can listen in. Chris, hey. Mairead, hi. Hello, all my wonderful mods. And Edna. Hello, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. So what are we going to do tonight? Salvador, hello, sweetie. Hello again, Blue. So good to see you guys here. So what are we going to do tonight? I wanted to play you a little bit. I said a little bit of Cowboys and the Ghostly Ladies, right? So, yep, everything happens for a reason. Yep. Ghost stories, ghost stories. So I wanted to do a little clip. It's just a little bit. I believe it's like 7 minutes. Yep. 7 minutes. And it's just back to Bodie. It's nothing fancy. But it told a little deeper about the town of Bodie. Do you remember we talked last week and it was like a walking museum? It was a ghost town that they just walked out and left. I think the last family walked out of there in 62. So they made a museum. The big thing about it is not just the eerie feeling you get of, you got to think about it. It's like gold popped up, town shows up where nobody ever wanted to put a town before. A small little town will have, maybe 2-3 general stores that had 23, I think they said, saloons and brothels, and I don't know how many saloons. I lost count on those. But it's this tiny little town. So much energy, so much stuff going on. People getting shot left and right and robbed. If you found gold, you were lucky to get out with it alive. I think that's one of the things that we don't even think about. You're there in the river and you pull up a piece of gold. Now, even your partners, are you hiding it from them? Are you gonna, stab them in the back and, take off with the gold? Hello, Linda. Welcome in. And Bodie has its own rules. So, you got to think of all that too. A lot of betrayal, a lot of broken dreams, a lot of, people maybe found gold and made themselves, and who knows what happened to them after that. So, you always hear those stories about the lottery. Somebody wins the lottery and are broke a year later. I can't imagine how that happens, Small town with a drinking problem. Absolutely, Blue. So let me put this on. It just went a little bit more in depth with Bodie, and a couple little interesting things there, and a little bit more about the curse of, like Steve and I talked about last Monday, when you take something away, like the people who stole the piano for their mom because, and then everything bad started happening to him, and the last person left in the family that had any strength brought the piano back and left it outside with a note on it. That's just so crazy, right? Yes, Chris Jarvis, Bobby Mackey's used to be my hangout to drink in the 90s. Wow, Wilder, Kentucky is 20-minute drive from here. Awesome, Chris, so you can give me a lot of input on this. I've got a little clip of Bobby Mackey's, a real old one. And then we've got a little bit more, and we're going to talk about a couple of the ghosts that are there, or maybe close to there. So that'll be great. So listening good, and give me any pointers, absolutely. So here we are anyway, back to Bodie. It's a little short. So how about that? You've got all these people sending letters. Take this back, put it back on the bar, put it back in, by the fence, like that man that found the coin and everything else. And here's just some pictures of what the gold mining there looked like, and the amount of people that were in this town. And now it's just gone. It's there, but it's like it's frozen in time, and really trippy, really trippy. And the curse is just, it makes you think, can somebody put a curse on? I do believe It's absolutely possible. I've heard of Native American chiefs that were basically standing there saying this land was supposed to be ours, and it kept moving and kept moving. Well, we had to put the road through here, so you know what eminent domain is like. Well, that's fine. You're going to put a highway through here, nothing but death. So you've got, highways that are like that. And of course, every car doesn't have an accident, but there's so many more accidents there than normal, or bridges that won't stand up and stay up the way they're supposed to. Things like that. Cursed land, cursed towns, cursed people, cursed objects, that whole shebang. And, you could do that all night long. We could talk about, antiques and dolls and things like that. But I think there's something really special about, like, say, whether it be the Titanic coal. We're still, I don't know where Steve's objects are. He ordered them so long ago, but it was during that whole time where you've got these cargo ships just sitting out of nowhere, and trains with Amazon boxes just literally littering the tracks, and empty boxes. They just take what they want and throw the rest, and nobody do anything about it. Just strange times we live in. So I have no clue where the artifacts are at this point. But, anybody getting coal or things from the Titanic, those objects being cursed. So I don't know what y'all think about that. I know in the culture that I was, a little bit of it that I was able to be taught from my elders, my blood elders, they had no problem believing in it. They had no problem believing in gypsy curses or anything else. No one thing held more power than the other. It was all harnessing the same power, the same energies, the same intent, the same, direction with that intent and that energy. So it wasn't, voodoo is scarier than, some tribal Native American things that people could do, or or a gypsy, if anybody ever saw the movie Thinner, all the older gypsy had to do is go like this and say one word: thinner. Just thinner. That was it. And just direct it towards that person. Absolutely, I believe in that. And that's why I tell you guys all the time. I have to remind myself all the time too. What you say and your words, what you write especially. And I thought it was really strange with the letters that these people are writing in this spastic, crazed handwriting. All these letters I kept seeing that were going back to Bodie, or going back to that island in Hawaii where they're saying don't even take a rock, or Gettysburg. Ask any park ranger that is in charge of a battlefield reenactment, a historical place like that, and most of them are going to tell you that they get these letters from people picking up little things, even so much as a rock. So that's kind of crazy. All right, so the rest of tonight, I don't know how y'all feel about the curses, but I guess the one point I wanted to get across on that is I was taught growing up, you may feel a different way, that not one group has more power than the other as far as putting on curses, meaning Romania, go back to any tribal that believes in that, any Native American tribe. I'm sure if you go back in any kind of things, every culture is going to have its form of a curse, whether it be in words or in writing or in spelling or in using energy or creating a voodoo doll or any other kind of doll. I mean, it could be a corn doll. Have you ever seen those corn husk dolls that were made? Anything like that. Chicken bones, no chicken bones, all kinds of different stuff. Santeria, same deal. And I thought it was kind of neat because as a kid I'm hearing this, and that made me think about religions, and I'm thinking, then no religion really has one over the other. It's all about that core thing, the energy, what is that about, and then everything else gets put on, the layers get put on. It's like the cake with the filling, and the filling is like the best. It's like the best lemon custard you ever had, or triple chocolate fudge, chocolate mousse whip, some crazy thing. Almond, a completely subtle almond buttercream icing for the center. What kid doesn't like to see that cake get cut that mom or grandma, or if you had lucky enough to have moms and grandmas that could bake. My kids didn't. But I did make a few cakes that came out okay. But I'm definitely not a baker. But you know, when you see that cake sliced, of course you want. They ask you what piece do you want. You know, if it was a birthday cake, you wanted the piece that had the rose on it, or you wanted the extra cool icing and stuff. But you cut into that cake, and the filling, and the cake is really, you know, the gusto of the whole thing, especially that filling, especially if it's, you know, triple chocolate mousse or that that I really like that marshmallow one too, and I really like the lemon custard. But you know what I mean, everybody's got their favorite. But the icing, that's all just pretty shit. Most people, every wedding I've ever done as a floral designer, I design weddings, I've planned weddings from invitation to they got in the car to the honeymoon, everything in between, not just flowers. And I can tell you that the amount of money that I've seen couples spend on wedding cakes will make you puke. And if you're a cake baker out there, it's not because it's not worth it. There's a lot of work in it. But the extravagance of it all. And you know what? Let me tell you something, a little secret. Not a very high number 20 years ago, but as of about 10 years ago, a lot of them will just rent a styrofoam cake. It's smart though. It's smart. It you know, say what you want to say about it. I think it's smart as all get out. You just rent that cake really nice and have it all decorated the way you want, and then, you know, you pretend to cut it, and, you know, you might have a little piece of cake in the back there that you can cut and smash in your face, whatever you're going to do with it, throw it at each other, stomp on it, whatever your culture is. And then they take the cake in the back like they're going to cut it all up, and you get a sheet cake that was in the back. Smartest thing I've ever seen. Because I once watched a couple that was just starting out. He was going into basic training, had no idea what he had ahead of him. And the cutest little girl, I mean, that he married, she was maybe 19, you know, just so young, it just seemed. But anyway, they were so young and innocent and everything else. I'm going, he's got basic training and she's got to deal with the army and be an army wife. They have no clue what's coming. Their parents' money on both sides, which I had to give it to these kids because they were going to go off and hack it out of their own, you know, and took a hard road. And that's road less traveled. Fantastic on them, right? But the parents are trying to outdo each other, and they started out with a cake that was a couple of grand with sugar butterflies and all this stuff that nobody was ever going to eat. You know, you get your picture and that's it. You're done. It's a cake, people. Well, it went up, and the last I heard it was about $5,000 on a cake. And I can remember picking it up, you know, helping them clean up toward the end, and, you know, the cake gets served and there's dancing, and this is where the fun starts. The shoes come off, and, you know, the hair starts to fall, you know, down a little bit. Everybody's, you know, doing the polka or the chicken, whatever that chicken dance is or whatever. And we're picking up stuff. Nobody ate the outside of the cake. Everybody just, it all sat on the plate. I watched all this money go right into the trash. Sugar, butterflies, and all. And all they did was eat the inside and the good cake and the good filling. So you remember that. Throw the outside shit away. It's real pretty to look at and talk about, but it's the cake and the filling on the inside that matters. There's your lesson for the night. And eat the damn cake. But don't spend $5,000 on a cake. What's wrong? What the hell is wrong with people? So anyway, that's that. So that's Bodie. And don't take rocks out of museums or other places or Civil War things. Okay, another lesson. That's 2. That's right off the get. So there we go. Now, what are we going to have next? What is it now? Oh, here we go. Now, I love this one so much. Thank you, Gray. I appreciate that. So eat the cake, right? The filling. What's everybody's favorite filling? Put your favorite filling. If you're not a cake person, you don't have to explain that you're not a cake person, that, you know, whatever. It just, if you have a favorite filling in a cake, I don't care what the cake is, devil's food, white cake, that yellow cake, the people cake, what's it, the yellow cake? Then you've got, you know, all these flavors and carrot cakes and stuff like that, but a real layer cake with the filling. What's your favorite filling? My brother spent $5,000 on a cake. I was disappointed in him. This is what I'm talking about. $5,000. Fucking cake. It's cake, right? Right? Am I wrong? You can take the cake and use it to help build the foundation of your first house, right? You can do that. That's why you save. That's why you cut the cake and you save the piece for the next year to have for your anniversary. It's really to put down as a cornerstone of your home, right? A $5,000 cake. That's what. No, it's just cake. Okay, that's what I thought. Ooh, Victoria, what's this? Wait a minute. Hold on, we're getting some fillings here. Oh, buttercream. Oh yeah, you can't go wrong. Love it. What's this one? Oh wait, I lost it. Go back. Ooh, it sounded like a good one. It had a long title on it. Oh, Roseworthy, bringing it out. Here we go. Victoria sponge filled with strawberry and cream. You know what? That's a tasty combination. You know what? I used to love the strawberry shortcakes that Mom used to make. My mother could make anything out of Bisquick. I shit you not. This was one of these women who had so many kids and no money. And I used to stand at AC Moore in the Wilton section and filling out all these little like cake tips and the Russian cake tips and the thermometers and the spatulas in 500 different sizes. And I'm sure there's a reason for all this. The fondant, the molds, right, which I used to use for soap, by the way, anyway. Again, not a baker. And anyway, I look at all this stuff and all these different size spoons. And the cakeware. Ganache is good. Okay, I don't even know what that is, but it sounds good. I've heard it before, but I don't know what it's. Marshmallow cream. You know what? That's a good one. I'm blueberry anything goes guy. Okay, Sean. Really? Blueberry. That's so cool. I want some cake right now, too. I do, too, Anne. We should have brought cake instead of popcorn. We did bring popcorn. Oh, blueberry muffins. Yup. Coconut or cheesecake in the name. I'll eat it. Okay. Coconut. Chris, have you ever had... This is my favorite birthday cake, and here's a quick story. This is my last cake thing. But I got to tell you this because it was so cool. Remember that birthday week I said I had where I was getting all the messages from Spirit and all that kind of stuff, and it was so cool. And I remember somebody at work asked me, what's your favorite kind of cake? And I wasn't even thinking, oh, bacon cake. There you go. Bacon. I'm sure there's a way we could get that, maybe with a Cheese Whiz whipped buttercream frosting or something with maybe bacon. I don't know. We'd have to work again. Not a baker. We have to get somebody else to put that together. You don't want me to make that cake. I do want some carrot cake. Carrot cake I like. I'm not big on the sour cream, the frosting though. What's that one they always use? The cream cheese frosting? That could get a little gaggy. Not a big Jell-O cake. I remember when they first started putting puddings in it. So God forbid you had a dry cake. I mean, these women would sit and hold their heads. And first, they got the coffee down. In the 60s and the 50s, they got the percolators. And there used to be commercials where they would just worry so much that the husbands wouldn't like the coffee. I'm going to the office where they have some good coffee. It's all these coffee commercials. And the women would just sit there and just shake their head and not know what to do. And, of course, they'd go to the fence and ask the neighbor, the older neighbor. And she would say, you got to get the mountain. You got to go to the mountains. You got to have the Colombian coffee. You got to have the Maxwell House good last drop kind of stuff, And they fixed her right up. And then her husband stayed home. It was all done. And then they worried about their cakes being dry. Turkeys being dry was apparently a big issue. And then there was the cake. So they put pudding in the cake. And that was a big deal. And then, God help us, came the bundt cake. Everybody and their mama was making bundt cakes, and they had different tunnels. The tunnel of fudge, though. There was one that was a devil's chocolate. And does anybody remember this shit? Is it just me? And it had the tunnel of fudge, and you could buy the whole kit, and you could just... Those were the days. Nobody does this anymore. What happened to the bundt cake? What happened to the Jell-O mold? You could go to anybody's house as long as you had a Jell-O mold in like Flynn. You could have anything in it. And the weirder the better. Broccoli, sliced olives. The only thing that you couldn't put in it was pineapple. I think it was because it was too juicy and the Jell-O wouldn't set. But anyway, here's my cake story real quick. So somebody asked me what my favorite cake was, Chris. And I told the truth. I said it just like this too. Makes you want to have it. White cake with lemon custard filling. Real marshmallow whipped frost with coconut. Full stop. Not even chocolate. Chocolate isn't even in the name. You don't even wave a chocolate bar over the top of it. This is my favorite cake. Absolutely. And you know what those bastards at work did? They made me one. I have never been so thrilled in all my life that they went through all that trouble to make me this cake, and it was fantastic, and it was a moment, and it was great. Absolutely great. If you haven't tried it, try it. It's the coconut, but it's got to have the right marshmallow. You gotta, it's so good. It's not just whipped white stuff. You can't cut corners on it. It has to be the real marshmallow. When it gets shiny on top, it looks like those new cars that people are riding around in that look like the whipped marshmallow. Every time I see one, I think marshmallow. I have to have one. So there you go. Diabetes conversation's killing me. I'm so sorry. Let's talk about ghosts and dead people. Great, we'll pull you right out of that. It'll be all right. We'll get your sugar level right. Egg custard especially. Ooh, is that the kind that they put in like the Boston cream donuts and stuff like that? The egg, is that what that is? Egg custard? Not, or the eclairs, like the real eclairs. Not a fan. And cannolis. I know every Italian in the world's going to hate me, but you can keep a cannoli. It's just not. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with that either. But anyway, let's talk about dead people. This one is a young lady that she was a pip, and she was they called her a swindler and a con artist. And oh yeah, with the coffee. You have to coffee cake with Entenmann's. The Entenmann's for company. And your mom got the Entenmann's, and she put it up on top of the refrigerator. You couldn't touch it. And when company came, you brought that out. Out came the Sanka, or if you were good company, the percolator came out. And now we're back with the go to the mountains, because it was the real Colombian stuff. Absolutely. With the Entenmann's, the crumb cakes, and the lemon, the almond ring. And then there was the lemon one day. Everybody remember oh God, get me off the Entenmann's. Oh my God, it was so good. It was so good. Anyhow, so Kate, you got to hand it to her. It was her and her husband, and they would go around. They had a little shtick going down, a little con thing. And I think she was getting a little tired of it. And I think she was not treated well. And I think a lot of these things start with people trusting the wrong people, people wanting to believe that people aren't who they say they are. Again, it's the beginning of all these, hard stories. It's the beginning of the road where you're walking down the road with the wrong person, right, gatekeepers? It's like, and you can't stop them because maybe they're supposed to go through it for their journey or whatever they're supposed to learn, right? Hey, D-Worm, welcome in. Hey, JK, hello, honey. Ian, how you doing? And hey, Pam, I saw you come in too. Hello, darling. Anyhow, that just seems to be it. And I think those are some of the saddest stories, the betrayal ones where, the people weren't who you thought they were. And maybe you trusted a little too much. And I think she got a little tired here at the end. And I think she was trying to make some changes. But that's not the good part of the story. The good part of the story is, I had said in the description, what if they could come back and tell their story? What if we got the story wrong and all these people are going on sitting, even if they're not on an investigation, they're talking about it, right, at the hotel or the place that's haunted, right? And we've got it wrong. Maybe we've got the story wrong, the ghost right, the story wrong. How frustrating is that for the ghost? Can they hear it? Can they pick up on that? And what if it's not even, like I said, what if it's not even that ghost, like the Lizzie Borden, right? In that case, it wasn't. It was somebody completely different. So, again, something to think about. But the coolest part about this is the connection. There is a bloodline connection in this. And I wonder if that wasn't the catalyst for the whole thing. Did the bloodline connection make it easier for the ghost to connect? Was it the nature of the inquiry of the person going in there and looking at the story different? Was that what made this happen like it did. Either way, it's a fantastic story, and let's watch it. I'll break in here in the middle, we'll talk about it, and then we'll finish it up. But this is a hell of a story, and it is brought to us by a little series that came out, sorry about that, in 92, 93, and 94. There was 3 of them. And it was a little TV special, and they changed the name a couple times. Some of you know it as Haunted Lives, and some of you have seen it as Real Ghosts. But there was 3, and the first one was narrated by a friend of ours that we like here on the show so much. And then the next 2, done, like I said, about a year and a half in between each one. Stacy Keach narrated it. But this first one, I think you'll recognize the voice right out the get. Here we go. Kate Morgan.
Reaching out from the world that lies beyond, they glide through the portals of our imagination. They shouldn't exist, but they do. They appear in the wink of an eye and vanish in the pound of a heartbeat. Where they come from, what they want, only they know. They are beyond life, beyond death, to some of us, beyond belief. But you are about to meet ordinary men and women who have witnessed them, walked with them, even embraced them. Real people who have come face to face with real ghosts.
Nestled next to the coast of San Diego, California, one can find the Hotel del Coronado. It has stood for over 100 years and will no doubt stand for 100 more. Presidents, prime ministers, and movie stars have all passed through its gates. And the hotel is still one of the greatest examples of Victorian architecture. But since 1892, strange reports have been circulating about the ghost of a beautiful young woman named Kate Morgan, an apparent suicide. Her story captivated a respected criminal attorney named Alan May, who was determined to check into a very specific room of the hotel.
What can I tell you, Mr. May? As far as I know, room 3502 is the one that... Well, you were there last night. Didn't you hear anything?
Yeah, I heard the elevator, I heard the ice machine. Look, I'm not trying to be difficult, I just don't think that was the room. According to the stories, Kate spent her days looking out the window, waiting for her lover to come. The room I was in had no window. Besides, you said yourself the last 2 times they redesigned this hotel, they changed all the room numbers. According to all the records, that would have been room 302 in 1892. That's the room I want.
Let me see if it's free. This is very strange. According to the computer, room 3312 is out of service.
Is it supposed to be out of service?
No, it's not. You want it?
Yeah. In my line of work, gut feelings are very important. You have to trust them. You find yourself looking at people and objects and just knowing something about them. I wouldn't say that at that moment I believed that the room was haunted, but I did have a feeling that, haunted or not, this was Kate Morgan's room.
I'm going to stop it right there to get you guys to focus. Hello, Steve. I love you, darling. See you tomorrow night. I hope you're going to stay throughout. He's so busy, guys. He's oh my gosh, all the things Steve is doing. He's going to come on tomorrow night and tell us about it. But I love you, babe. And everybody who's listening, welcome in, Sue, and Be Kind, and everybody that came in. Nightmare, hello, sweetie. So I wanted to stop you here real quick and ask yourself, why is this man so drawn to this story? I mean, he, is investigative. He seems very driven. Pay attention to that. It's really something else. And like he said, he's like, I'm not really sure I believe in ghosts, whatever, but he was drawn to this. Pay attention. I think it's a very important part of this story, and I missed it the first time I saw it years ago, and I wanted to point it out tonight because it's a pretty special part.
This was where she was staying on the night she killed herself. At first, nothing unusual happened. At first. Hi.
Hi.
Any messages for Alan May in 3312?
Are you sure that's your room? 3312.
Yes. Why, is there a problem?
The computer says you've checked out. That room's out of service.
What can I tell you? I'm here.
I'm sorry about this, sir. I'll take care of it immediately. You have no messages.
Thanks.
Our original reason for going out here, I mean, we can sit in the car and drive along and count 10 or 50.
That night, I couldn't sleep. It was like I was waiting for something to happen. But what? What's wrong? Just follow me. Do you see it? TV's off. I spent the night in the chair by the window. Sometime before dawn, the face slowly vanished. I needed some explanation, and the past seemed like a good place to start. I don't think I was converted. I'm still not sure I believe in ghosts. I mean, a lot of things could explain what I saw. I'm just not sure what they are. A strange calm came over me. It was the kind of feeling I get when I've just agreed to take on a new case. To my surprise, Kate's paper trail still existed, and it told a very curious story. Kate was married and deeply in love with a handsome con man named Tom Morgan.
How many cards would you like, Mr. Fairchild?
I'll take 3.
Together they traveled the country under assumed names, never staying in one place for long, for good reason.
Here's your drink, Mr. Fairchild.
Well, thank you, Miss Bernard.
And here's yours, Charles. I put in 3 pieces of ice, just like you wanted.
Thank you, Lottie.
Your sister's very lovely, Bernard. I'll see your bet and raise you 50.
I think you're bluffing, Mr. Fairchild. I'll see your raise. Call.
Three aces.
Full house.
Someday, Mr. Bernard, you'll have to tell me how you did it. Night, Miss Bernard. You're a hell of a card player, Mr. Bernard.
Here's the con, as you all see it. Big Nose Kate, Big Nose Kate was Doc Holliday's girlfriend, the one that the doc told her, not Doc Holliday, but his doctor, he had tuberculosis, that he couldn't stay up late, he couldn't gamble and get excited, and he couldn't drink. So she made sure he did all 3 until basically he died. That was Big Nose Kate. But this one, no. But here's where it all starts to go wrong. You can see how it is. You can imagine. That's what I want you to do tonight. Imagine. I know it's hard for the guys, but just imagine what it was like to be a woman back then. You're at a small town. You've hitched up with some guy. You're traveling all over. You don't really have a place. You probably feel like, I can't go back home to the farm. You know like that song, how are you going to get him back on the farm? What do you do? And we all know that a lot of women, especially in these times, in this time, what was it like in the West, the real West, The difference between 1882, 1890 in New York and Arizona, 2 completely different things. You got people going on the trail and Oregon Trail, all this stuff. You got the gold, rush. What was it like to be her? You're going to see a little bit of that angst in the way they played this, because again, just like so many women, we find out now, not only is she probably going to be a woman on her own or in the middle of nowhere, and she doesn't know, the traveling, she's pregnant. And that makes it even worse. Now what? You know, you're going to go to a nunnery? What are you going to do? You're going to go back to the farm? Could you go back to the farm? Would your family take you in? We don't know. So with each one of these women, they seem to be getting into this situation. And I think as elder women, we always want to tell the young ones, don't let this happen, you know. Don't get yourself in this pickle. Always have extra money in your shoe, or, you know, always have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, because when you find out that a guy is this kind of a snake, and he's just been portraying himself to use you to get through medical school or whatever this guy's doing, or, you know what I mean, the old story. It's terrible when it flips on you. Number one thing don't commit suicide. Don't throw yourself out of a window. Don't jump off a building. Don't take poison. You go down and you get yourself a job, girl, and you handle that shit, because these guys are not worth what it happened to all these women tonight. So there's just a little Cisco soundbite. There you go. Back to the story.
You were wonderful, darling. Simply wonderful.
You were the wonderful one, Mrs. Morgan. He was so busy looking at you that I could have changed hands 3 times and gotten away with it.
You know what I'd like most, Mr. Morgan? I'd like someday to be able to wear my wedding ring out in public.
You will, Kate. If we keep scoring like this, in a few years, we'll be able to retire.
Actually, I was thinking maybe I'd retire a little earlier than that. I'm pregnant, Tom.
You can't be.
Well, I am.
Your job is to take their minds off the game. Nobody's gonna look twice at a pregnant woman. This ruins the whole
How
scam.
did that happen? They know what causes that now. So I've heard.
Kate and Tom moved on. When she could no longer travel, Tom abandoned her. Kate waited for him to return, and waited. Sadly, Kate was to lose her child. Distraught, she hoped Tom might meet with her in San Diego. Kate had her child there and waited for him, hoping he'd come back to her. Kate checked into the Del Coronado and spent the next few days getting up her courage to confront Tom.
Do you have a Mr. Tom Morgan staying here?
No, there is no one in the register by that name.
Do you have a Mr. Bernard registered?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, Mr. and Mrs. Bernard checked in yesterday. Whom should I tell them is calling?
No, it's all right. That won't be necessary. Just tell Mr. Bernard that his sister stopped by, and perhaps I could leave a note.
Later, that same evening, they found Kate's body. She had died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That poor, lonely young woman waiting for a lover that would never come. Kate Morgan's story made sense to me now. Certainly it would explain the presence of a ghost, if that's what I was dealing with. Ghost or not, my heart went out to Kate. But as I returned to the Del Coronado that night, I had the feeling that I was missing something. Or had the police missed something? The police had missed something, something vital. The gun that Kate had supposedly used was a .44 American Bulldog. Yet the slug taken from her skull at the autopsy was a .38, a much smaller bullet.
stop this just for a quick second. I promise. I want to talk to all my paranormal investigators and everybody that's out there, mediums and everybody else, people with abilities that are going in trying to help these ghosts. I just got to say, if they would all just do this, just reach out, take me to your time, show me what happened. I got you. We'll undo the curse. We'll fix the lie. We'll flip the thing. We'll get you to where you need to go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. This would be awesome. But this is not usually how it works out. I wish it did. But if you're really patient, sometimes you can get here. Just not this quick. This does happen, though. It absolutely does. It's not the only time I've heard of it. It's amazing, and it's really kind of beautiful. So, here we go.
I got your note, Kate. What do you want?
I thought I wanted you. I don't anymore.
What do you want, Kate? You want money? Is that it? You want a divorce? You can have it. Just tell me what you want, Kate. Don't be foolish, Kate.
You lied to me.
Ruh-roh.
You hurt me.
Kate. Please.
Kate, behind you! Tom picked up Kate's gun and fired it into the dirt of the potted palm on the landing. He placed the gun in Kate's hand and walked away. He just committed a perfect crime. Everyone believed that Kate Morgan had killed herself. That is, until 98 years later, when a skeptical attorney took up her case.
Weighted down by the tragedy he had witnessed, Alan May decided to tend to Kate's grave. He had purchased a headstone so Kate would not be cast aside in death as she had been in life. Later, Alan would discover that Kate Morgan had an earlier child who had survived. Unable to care for him, she had left him in the home of a close friend, a San Francisco reverend who then raised the boy as his own son. And amazingly, that reverend was Alan May's own great-grandfather.
Can I just say, what? What? Did you hear what he said? Run that piece by one more time. Listen carefully. This is why the man was drawn. And he got the headstone. It really is quite the story. Oh, shoot. No. I'm sorry. Hold on, I'll find it. Somebody sing a song. Start a sing-along. Row, row, row your boat. Gently down the stream. Here we go. Merrily, merrily, merrily.
Just the headstone so Kate would not be cast aside in death as she had been in life. Later, Alan would discover that Kate Morgan had an earlier child who had survived. Unable to care for him, she had left him in the home of a close friend, a San Francisco reverend who then raised the boy as his own son. And amazingly, that reverend was Alan May's own great-grandfather.
Bloodlines.
In a moment, Alan May talks about his encounter with real ghosts. Alan May's experience with the ghost of Kate Morgan ran contrary to his training, background, and his very belief system.
For the last 18 years, I've been a practicing attorney here in California, primarily doing murder cases, homicide cases, dealing in facts, dealing in evidence, dealing in witnesses, the credibility of witnesses, and trying to separate fact from fiction in terms of what people believe they see and what they say they see. I've also served in Washington on the White House staff twice and as an assistant to several cabinet officers, again dealing with facts and dealing with what really has to be adjudicated in terms of reality. So this whole metaphysical experience is very bizarre to me. It's something I've never believed in before. I believe in it now, though, because not only did I have the experience of seeing what I saw, but I've got 4 or 5 witnesses who also saw it too, so I have to come to the conclusion I wasn't incompetent or non-compos mentis, but I was seeing what I saw.
Good for Kate. There you guys go. Hell of a story, right? I mean, yeah, Gray, I'm telling you, it happens. So many stories. I don't want to go off on a tangent now because I will. You know me. I know me. I've seen me do it. It does happen. And I don't know if that's the way they could recount it. That's the way the producers of the show could show you. If he saw it in his mind, if she just projected it, you know, if she really could pull him back in time and replay it for him. Not the first time I've heard it. Heard multiple stories like that where people get almost pulled into a time and see a small flat and feel coming out of it exhausted, just drained, you know, all your energy just drained, but you know what you saw, you know. I can't explain how they can do it, and I wouldn't sit here and tell you that it's only one way that they can do it. I think it's individual. It's the difference between a ghost only thing being able to rap on a wall or hit a wall or a pipe or maybe move a glass to where another one can and not materialize at all, and another one can materialize full on and walk straight through your living room and right out through your, you know, your wall and off into the street or whatever. There's a difference. So I don't know how, and I can't sit here and explain how to help you believe that something like that can happen. But also, was it the bloodlines, the connection? Now, her son, another child, this was a different child. He had made her give up one before. And then she was pregnant again. So this is a double whammy. Her emotions, her shit was all over the place, trust me. I mean, she's trying to hang on to this guy, and she's doing, you know, performing for him, and they're doing the gambling trick, and yep, that was it. 3 cubes, you know, in his whiskey there. And I can't believe there's something even that might be subtle to some, but like Blue picked it up. I would have picked it up right away. Anytime you play poker or bartend, you pick up stuff like that. You know, anytime you're out in the outside and you're reading people. I can't believe that would go over, but I'm guessing, you know, people did all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, they even really had mechanisms where the cards would come out of your sleeve. You know, I've seen them in museums, just all kinds of cheating ways. But that was one thing, I guess, that they did, and other cons, and, you know, just trying to get through and traveling around, living the life, and then he left her. So she found a way to come back and tell this guy. Now, was he drawn because he'd had that blood connection? It wasn't really a blood connection. His great-grandfather was a reverend who raised her son. I think it was great. One great? I think it was a one great. And it wasn't a blood connection, but it was an energy, a life force, a family. It could have even been, what if this? What if they were part of, somebody said it in Hebrew, incarnated. What if they were part of that soul family that was reincarnated as a group to come back and fix it in this life to help her? I mean, we could go all night in so many different directions, but no matter what direction you go off in, you know, bing, bang, zoom, like Ricochet Rabbit. Gosh, who remembers Ricochet Rabbit? It's an amazing freaking story. And he gets her the tombstone so she won't be forgotten. He fixes it. He closes it again. He just tells the truth. So obviously, having information like this would be so helpful in an investigation. You know, whether you're trying to get evidence, he really wasn't looking for evidence. He really wasn't in there with recorders and machines and things trying to get pictures. He wanted to find out about the story. And she might have just got energy off of that. And it's just an amazing, amazing story. And I hate that it was lost in time. I mean, that was way back in, 90 something. I had it in the video. But what'd y'all think? Amazing, huh? Yeah, that's true. Not all family is blood, Linda. But what I meant is like a bloodline connection, like actually via blood, maybe a DNA memory or something along those lines, however you want to call it, an energy connection. But there can be that energy connection, the same as, of course, those two life forces. He raised that kid, you know, and it's an amazing thing. And it could be something like that with the reincarnation, or just a connection with that love connection, because we know that love is the strongest thing. So just that love connection, that's it right there. You don't even need the blood and everything else with that, right? Blood moon tonight? Is it really? Oh gosh. All right. Woo. As long as it's not Mercury in retrograde, I've had enough of that mess. How about y'all out there? So, hell of a damn story. This guy didn't even know why he was doing it. Yep, energy connection for sure. Yep, and it's a great story, Mairead. Hello, how you doing, love? Loving all your pictures on Facebook. I don't always get in there to tell you, you know, how beautiful I think you are and how wonderful and your energy and everything else. I try to go in there. I don't go Facebook too much because I find that I draw that energy. You know, and I'm lucky enough to have a really good Facebook where I have a lot of good people with a lot of good energy. But I've seen, you know, people go south real quick. And, you know, it'll catch you before you know it. And what I tell you, that to empaths, even people that don't consider themselves empaths, you are absorbing that energy. I tell people all the time, if you're getting overwhelmed, you know, it's a whole adrenaline thing too. It's like the next thing. You know, I've heard studies that even tell you that the worry worm thing actually sets off chemicals in you. It's like, you know, just endorphins and just all this stuff. It just triggers all these things because you're waiting in anticipation for something. And it really is a drainer. So I don't get to tell you how wonderful I love you all if you're in there. If I catch you, I try to always let you know I was there and I saw you. But if I didn't, please don't think you're being dissed. It's just that I don't go in too much because it's, you know, it's almost like you got to take a salt bath afterwards, you know. Social media can be really draining. Much like a ghost who is angry, which is coming up in the next one. So here's a place. This one's going to finish us, just about finish us off here, but because there's so many different directions you could dive into this one. Chris, you told me that you're not used to hang here all the time, so don't give me any spoilers, but while we're talking about stuff, if you want to reiterate, because I'm going to take a backflip on this, and you might already know where we're going with that backflip. But keep in mind, I'm focusing on like the women tonight. But again, I've told so many stories about Bobby Mackey's, because Bobby Mackey's has had stuff going on there forever. I remember when he first bought it, I didn't know him from Adam, but I would listen to him and listen to the things that people were going on around him and around them. And of course, he was busy setting it up and thinking about the music and recording and things. He's very music minded. And it was his dream to get this place. And I'm sure he worked a lot, I think he says in this, a lot of honky tonks to make the money to be able to afford it so he could stop the traveling and just sit and the people could come to him. It was a dream and fantastic for that. And I wouldn't want to take anything away from him. I'm just being honest and telling you that when I first heard about it and first saw stories coming out about it, I would see him just denying the stuff going on. It's like, I don't, it's crazy and I don't want to hear about it. And he would say that to people who were really going through it. So it was like, think about a family in a house and the dad, I've been there. Okay. So I got a little blood in the game on this one, where you couldn't talk about it and it was bunk, and he'd actually get angry about it and blah, blah, blah. So that kind of like, it didn't turn me against him or anything. It was more like, come on, dude, what do you think is going on? And for the love of God, when it happened, his wife was pregnant. It's a running theme in here. So there was some things going on in that place that said that it could possibly affect pregnant women more. And he wasn't even thinking about that. That one got to me. I don't know if y'all have heard the story, if that gave you a sour taste too, because to me, why take the chance? Keep the place, get an apartment somewhere out there, and just go back and forth, and she doesn't have to be there. Not pregnant ghosts, no. Not that I know of. Wait a minute. Well, hold on. There's possibly pregnant ghosts, but I'm not really focusing on that one, Sean. But they're there, yes. So I would have to say yes to that question. But, so anyway, it's Bobby Mackey's music world. Now, in Bobby Mackey's, and I have stories, I have pictures, I've got actual accounts, I've got newspaper clippings, we got the whole shebang. But much like Kate Morgan, are some of the stories perhaps a little off? So much so that when you go into a place like that and you see a ghost, are you assuming right away it's this ghost, and it's everything with this experience is everything you know about that particular ghost, that particular story, that folklore, that legend, that experience is all wrapped around what your preconceived notions are about that, right? So very much like Kate, everybody got that wrong. She's been haunting that place for 100 years, 98 years, I think he said. Everybody's saying she committed suicide. She was murdered. It was murder. Like Quincy, it was murder. Like Quincy, who remembers that? It was murder. It was murder. Right to the point where he put the bullet in the plant, son of a bitch. The cops didn't, for whatever reason, not blaming all the cops, because for all I know, who knows who was handling this. And if you're in a fancy hotel like that, they're pushing you to get it under the rug. And, they want publicity, but they really don't want publicity. They want things to run smooth. And especially in a place like that, everything gets, washed away. But this guy came back almost 100 years later and dug down and got facts that had been there for 100 years. So somebody wasn't looking, right? Somebody got it wrong. And you wonder how many times that happens. And then you wonder, if you're a schlep like me, I think stuff like, what if that was somebody I loved? What if that was me? These girls could have been any one of us ladies here at any time in our lives, or past lives, for that matter. And any guy sitting here, this could be your girl or your daughter or your granddaughter or your sister, whatever. We go on forever, right? This could happen to anybody. especially these young girls. The last one was in California, of course, and Bodie is in California. That was in Coronado, I believe. And this one is in Wilder, Kentucky. And the things that happen around there. So let's watch the show. Within this, like I said, I want you to think about what's going on in this place, how much of it is legend, how much of it may be truthful facts, and then the stories and everybody going in there. Think about this. Years and years of paranormal investigators going in there and going, are you such and such? Are you this one? Are you that one? Because I can tell you, I know mediums and I know very, very wise people that have gone into this place and told me the backstory on it. And I've told a few on the thing, and I never say their names without their, getting their okay beforehand. But there's some other things going on here, and the stuff that's going on in this place, the stories are much better. So I don't understand how legend and the narrative can override the truth and actual facts. But I guess we're all kind of living that in a way now, right now, aren't we? So it's still going on. But I guess we could learn a little bit from these ghost stories and maybe kind of watch for that in our own lives, right? But here we go. A little trip into Bobby Mackey's, I believe. Am I right? Am I right? I think I'm right. Let's see. See if I'm right. Yep.
It is said that when a house is built on haunted ground, ghosts will linger within. Few of us ever check the history of our property, even though it might hold a dark secret.
Come on, darling. Let's get this over with. Die game or die hard, it's your choice. We give you this offering.
When Bobby Mackey and his young wife were looking to start a country western club,
Well, darling, here we are.
they weren't concerned about the past, just the future.
Is this great or what?
Hey, buddy, it's great.
Come here. Now we get one of the mechanical bowls and put it right over there. This bar, we can use this for the bar. Great. It's a little messy right now, but I'll get it fixed up. Oh, what's this stuff? I think get a couple pool tables and put them over here. And then, bright lights and country music.
Every journey starts with a single step. My mama told me that. And that spring day when I first saw the club, I thought we'd taken a step in the right direction. Well, I was
Sheena
wrong.
Easton, everybody.
And all the folks are dancing down here.
Baby.
Yours truly will be right here where he belongs, in the spotlight.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. No wonder this place is so cheap. No.
That ain't the only reason.
Excuse me?
Name's Carl. You must be Bobby Mackey.
How'd you know my name?
Oh, well, it's no secret you're moving in. I just thought I'd roll out the welcome wagon and sign up on a list in case you're hiring.
Well, let's talk later. Oh, this is my wife, Janet.
Meet you.
Hi.
Would you folks like to take a guided tour? This place is sort of a hobby of mine.
Sure. Janet?
Sure.
You know, I could have the power on for you by tomorrow.
That first day, Carl showed us around the place. He knew it like the back of his hand.
Plumbing all over the place. You want to see the basement?
Honey?
Kai?
Ma'am, in your condition, I'd stay up here.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Nothing up here bites.
Nothing much. This place used to be a slaughterhouse, Mr. Mackey.
Well, you can call me Bobby.
Lord knows how much blood's been spilled on these floors. Mr. Mackey, don't come down here alone. I don't want you working so hard. Bobby's got enough help.
Yeah, okay. Carl, you hear something? Was not hallucinating. Carl saw it too.
Well, then you're both nuts.
Just don't get it, do you? There is something wrong with this place.
Janet, honey, believe me, the sooner this place is cleaned out, the better. Now, I know we're all a little stressed out, and you with the baby and all.
She's right, Bobby. You gotta move slow here. The things happen to people who move too far, too fast. No, I'm serious. The guy that ran this place in the 30s, he was murdered. Shot by his own daughter. Then she killed herself. And that's not all. Back in the 1890s.
No, now it's you who doesn't get it. You know how many crappy joints I had to play? How many drunks I had to dodge? How many cheap, no-count club owners I had to beg in order to get paid? All so I could save up enough money to buy this place. Now, I swore, honey, one day I was going to get off the road and bring the road to me. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Well, Bobby was right. We opened right on time, and I've never seen him so happy. I wish I could have said the same thing.
Come on, sugar, drink up. I'm buying that.
Honey, if anyone can drive a man to drink, it's you. Another soda water on the rocks.
Better go easy on this next one, Jerry.
Lots of strange things had happened before. That night, the air seemed filthy.
I'd stop right there and tell you, how many times have I told you the story about this place? Where I've had 3 different people go in and tell me the same thing, that there are 4 guys. They are from back in the day, back when it was probably just more of a little westerny town, even before Johanna, and well, that was the 40s on Johanna, or Pearl, who was more 1894-ish. So before that. And they stay there, they're jumpers. They stay there, and they're perfectly fine where they are. They have no intention in crossing because they like to jump in and start bar fights and drink beer, and they can do it for short periods of time, and they're the ones that start all these bar fights all over the place. So I had to stop it and show you because that was a great reenactment there of a jumper. Did you see him? He just, all of a sudden, he just changed. That's what I'm talking about. It's crazy, but I've seen it happen.
Here we go again.
Dial 911 and tell Bobby.
Bobby Mackey's jelly. Wilder, Kentucky.
The Mackeys wanted to get to the root of their nightclub's ghostly occurrences. They turned to psychic Patricia Michelle.
What's it mean?
It means, Look, I'd just as soon you and your wife wait here. Carl, can you show me the basement?
Yeah, sure. I guess.
Wait a minute. Are you all right?
You didn't see the will.
You mean they're right?
Right. About what?
About everything. This place. Look, we gotta get out of here.
You go. I need to be alone.
It's an old story about a well in the basement. What got tossed into.
What does that got to do with anything?
Well, maybe everything. They said it happened 100 years ago. A woman was found murdered, all cut up. They caught the 2 killers. On the day of their hanging, the first man went down without a sound. Then the judge tried to make a deal with the other. If he told where he put her head, he'd only get life.
You bastard. Tell us.
I'll tell you nothing.
Wait!
I curse you and men like you. Men who think that they can judge me. Any man who presumes to interfere with the work of the Dark Lord shall suffer for all time. May your God help you.
They say he was hung right outside.
Anything else you haven't told us? Why didn't you say something earlier?
Would it have made a difference?
You okay?
I'm fine. We have to talk.
You're crazy. Both of you. You're crazy. Now, what you're saying is in order to put things right, I gotta tear down my nightclub, dig down 100 or so feet, and look for a well that may or may not exist? And then I gotta reunite this woman's head with her body? Come on.
That's not all. I also felt a very strong threat, anger, directed at
I'm
the
not
people-
doing it. I can't do it, and I won't do it.
Mr. Mackey, you're next.
What?
Whatever it is that lives here is determined to punish the men responsible for keeping it here. Today, the responsible man is you. You are the owner.
Wait a minute. You just wait 1 minute.
Are you sure? Nothing can be certain, but I take this warning very seriously. Talk to your husband.
Hey, baby, it's all right. We can figure something out.
No, it's not that. I'm going to be issued a subpoena to appear in municipal court. Richard Lawson is suing us for damages, claims we're responsible for what happened to him in the men's room. Emotional damages, he's calling it. He wants the court to order an exorcism or shut us down.
I guess Bobby made legal history. First ever lawsuit over a haunting. For some reason, Bobby didn't want me to go to the trial. But the night it was over and the verdict was announced, I found out why.
In an unprecedented ruling, the judge decided in favor of the bar's owner. The judge said the alleged ghost attack on Lawson was not the result of negligence. Therefore, Richard Lawson was not entitled to damages. Lawson responded by saying that any future incidents should be on the judge's conscience and not his, a charge the judge swiftly rejected. In Wilder, Kentucky, Chris Baelish reporting.
Well, congratulations, Bobby.
Yeah, hooray for the home team.
Could I get a glass of ice water? Make him a double, Vicky. I'm buying. Bobby, I just wanted to say that I... Forget it. You're not mad? Hell no. You know how much TV advertising costs these days? Anytime you want to sue me, you go right ahead.
Anyway, I felt funny when my lawyer told me who I was suing.
Wait a minute, I don't understand. What?
Well, I mean, I always knew that, or I thought that Bobby owned the club. I never knew that you were the boss. Anyway, it was nothing personal.
It's for tax reasons, that's all. I'm still the owner. It's just the deed's in your name.
The ghost was sworn to punish the person who was keeping it here, the owner. Now I understood why Bobby didn't want me at the courthouse.
So, I'm making this tape for a reason. In case something happens to me. Bobby did what he had to do, I guess. I don't know.
Pull the podcast over. Are you freaking kidding me? I'm just saying, girls, It's definitely sus. You know what I mean? There's stop. Big indicator. Issues. Go. Just saying. Go ahead.
We tried to sell the place, but nobody's buying. So all we do is sit here and wait. And wait.
To this day, Janet Mackey is listed on county papers as the owner of Bobby Mackey's.
I won't come in here alone because of what's happened to me in the past. It scares me because I'm honestly think that there is something here will hurt me if I'm by myself. Because they're after me, no doubt about that. I think that the reason why Bobby turned the ownership over to me, that he's really afraid they're going to get him.
I certainly wouldn't put the danger on her and take danger off of me. I don't believe there was any danger to begin with. It was strictly a career move, a timely thing, a circumstantial thing, and had nothing to do with anybody being in danger, because I've never seen anybody in any danger in here whatsoever.
Do you see what I mean here? This was my introduction, actually a couple shows before this, earlier shows, and he had this, and I come by it honest, because my dad was like that when we lived in the haunted farmhouse, and you couldn't talk about it, he didn't believe it. It was just so, nope. And anyhow, that's why I felt that way. Since then, I must say, he has warmed up to the idea. I mean, again, this is 30, 40 years ago. He has warmed up to the idea, and I know he knows he's a businessman, and he has gotten more publicity and more business. And I think he really didn't care as long as it was a success, sure. And they even do ghost tours and stuff like that now, too. And I'm loving the stuff you're putting down here, Chris. I hope I don't say anything tonight that you disagree with, and I have no problem with you coming back at me and saying, because I just got into this story really deep past couple of days, and you've been there, I have not. And there's a couple things that are shifted in the history of the property, but not completely untrue. You see what I mean? From the very beginning, it's like the JFK trial. Perfect example. A little bit of truth, whole lot of bullshit. A little bit of truth, whole lot of bullshit. A lot of setting, a lot of planning, a lot of conniving, a lot of conspiracy, a lot of espionage, all that shit going on. You know, a lot of blackmailing and a lot of power. And a little bit of truth. And that's kind of sort of what's happening here. More so in some cases than others. But I love your input. Keep it coming, because, again, I've not been there. I've had good friends with a lot of abilities and read a lot of stories. It's not the same as being there. So absolutely your input. Keep it coming, baby. Thank you. And all men are not creeps. I know this show tonight kind of shows. But again, if someone sees this ahead and it makes them think a little bit more like, hey, maybe I want to make sure I got my own just in case this doesn't, you know what I mean? So you don't have to. And it goes for anybody of any sex. I mean, this can go either way. But in these cases, back in the day, it was so much easier to get away with it with women because, like so many people have stated here, there wasn't a great amount of jobs. You couldn't, in a lot of cases, buy a house. You couldn't vote. You couldn't do a lot of things. Power, money, your family would marry you off. I mean, we did that with haunted castles. How many princesses married off to big old gout-ridden narcissist psychopaths, you know, with skin disease and gross, you know. Anyhow, pay attention, girls. Here we go. So, again, the stories. Now, I believe this is the gentleman who wrote the book, and a lot of people say certain things weren't brought up till he wrote the book. The whole Satanism, this being a place where people would come and have rituals and things like that. Chris, I'm on board with you on that. I believe that any place that was a slaughterhouse is a place that they go. I mean, I've lived in, you know, backwoods, rural Alabama, You know, not that it is all like that, but I mean, I was rural. And never seen so many churches in your life. And this place was so dark. And the caves are being used as ritual. You know, it's not that uncommon for teens or adults, for that matter, to gather in caves and old broken down abandoned places and fields. And we've been hearing it all our lives. It's not that uncommon. So for people to be drawn to this place where so many animals were slaughtered right out the get, it's prime territory for that. And I have no problem believing that. Even though I think a lot of people say that it didn't come up till this guy wrote the book and it was all bunk, I do believe in that part of the story that absolutely it could be used for that, because they would be drawn to something like that. And it's also, I believe, right by a river, is it not? Not very far away. And, you know, again, that's a draw. So there we go. Devil worshippers, let's see, wait a minute, what's he saying? Devil worshippers still go there to the river. Supposedly demons can use water. Yep, there. See, there you go. I have no problem believing that part. And anything like that is going to be a draw. So now you're drawing anything that's dead and earthbound to all of that chaos, energetic chaos, whether it's, you know, happy people dancing. I mean, it's been more than one club from what I hear over time. So you've got a lot of people happy, you know, dancing, a lot of people going in there, multiple different feelings, just like anything else. What do you go to a bar for? You know, to hook up, to dance, to drink, to fight, you know, all the above. That's Friday night, right? But, so you've got a lot of emotion over many decades. And before that, the whole slaughterhouse thing, what I heard was it was for a small family. It wasn't a big, huge factory slaughterhouse. And it was over and back a little bit. It wasn't right there. But the tunnels and things that were dug to wash water in, it was to wash water in and then back out again. So all those things true. We're going to get a little bit more into this, but I just wanted to stop that with Bobby Mackey and just say that he has changed his mind, and I know he has warmed up to it a little bit, but basically the man just wanted to play his music, and I think at first when he went in there, like any business owner, he thought it was going to hinder the business and run people away, and when he found out it made people run to it, and there could be more money made, there was a sign put up, I believe, Chris, you've probably seen this, it says they're not responsible. I have a picture of the sign coming up on another tape, that they're not responsible for if you get hurt by ghosts. So I thought that's kind of cute and necessary, a disclaimer like that, because apparently this place, you know, a lot of people do get beat up in the bathrooms and things happen mostly in the bathroom. I think, Chris, you said something like that too. There was a beheading, and yes, there were mobsters, only things proven. Yeah, and absolutely mobsters, you know, prohibition, all of that stuff was going on. This was a hub. I mean, it was a factory at first, a lot of cement, you know, block buildings kind of thing, and over time it was reused for different things, but mostly there toward the last couple of decades it was all used for clubs, and sometimes the clubs failed, and it seems to be an awful lot of shootings there to this day. You know, is it the property? Are people drawn to that? Does it cause that? One can only guess. But if you've got jumpers in there and you've got earthbound spirits that are drawn both negative and, you know, middle of the road, and good ones too that are just lost, this is like a shopping mall for ghosts, you know? So anyway, and a lot of weird things happen in there. Not just that. I mean, deep stuff. And it's a little crazy. Okay.
Bobby Mackey's very much in danger.
Local writer Doug Hensley spent 5 years researching the club.
That because Bobby Mackey has got on television shows and radio talk shows and whatever, and has mocked the spirits, and has teased them, and has said, there is no Alonzo Walling, there is no Pearl Bryan on my property or in my building. I believe the day is going to come, and it's been predicted by several psychics, the day is going to come when they are going to try to kill Bobby.
The attack in the men's room is still fresh in Richard Lawson's mind.
I put my hands in the wash basin right here to wash my hands. And as I put my hands in this basin, this metal garbage can right beside the wash basin just violently took off and it slammed like that right into the wall, and it kept beating. And I turned around very violently to find out what in the world's going on, and there stood an image of a man. And he kept repeating to me the words, "Die game." And I was getting tingly inside, I got woozy, and I went out on the floor completely. I mean, I was out, and they had to call 911 to come in here and revive me from me being unconscious.
That ladder, it started right from that pipe right there. It started wobbling. It wasn't nothing like I'd ever seen. It had trampled. It just wasn't walking. It was coming towards her.
Just like in a spin, like a tornado type thing, banging against the wall and carrying on, and I couldn't move. And I thought, well, this is it, you know. I'm either dead or it's after me and my child.
Psychic Patricia Michelle witnessed the evil that lives within Bobby Mackey's.
I had these very eerie feelings as I started walking through this basement, cold chills, but then in my mind, I could see a well, and when I saw it, I saw a head in it.
Bobby Mackey continues to play his music for the fans every weekend, who come out despite the ghosts.
There's nothing here. I mean, nothing to be gotten rid of. I don't think there's anything such as that on the face of the earth.
Well, if it happened to you, you would.
If you.
But you know, when you have something.
You show me a ghost. You show me a ghost, and I'll ride.
I couldn't show you because you're never with me down there.
I'll ride the mechanical bull in the nude.
Well, you ride it in the nude. You get ready because they're here, and you might have to go. You might have to do that because they're here, and if someday they will grab you from behind, you won't even go there. Well, I'll have to buy you one tomorrow.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Sorry, guys. Cisco mute. Real quick, I was thinking, every time I pick the song, right? It's just awesome. The guy was really going off there. And I always think, man, Blue's really going to appreciate this one because it's just, you know, certain blues songs and stuff like that I think about. And a lot of people out there are sensitive to music and really notice the music. And that one was a good one. I have in there who it was. It's called The Colonel. And it is, oh gosh, I wrote it down. Hold on one second. Zachariah Hickman. And it's in a couple of the videos I wrote it too because, man, that's really cool. But, okay, so Bobby Mackey's. I don't know what the relationship is. This is what I do know about earlier. The ladder was a thing. It is said that something in there, I'm not going to assume it's one or the other or this one or that one. It's something in there does not like pregnant women, apparently. And I think they put out that if you're pregnant, you probably shouldn't go there. Don't know if that's part of the legend or the lore, but it does seem to have a history, okay? There are several ghosts that are famous for being in there as far as around there. Didn't Jack get in the hole and use a Ouija board? Yes. Jack? Yes, I think Jack did. Didn't somebody, Nick slept over the well, didn't he? Okay, so let's get the ghost, the GA, and the portals to hell with Jack, and the, what was the other one? Oh gosh, Nick's got one with, oh gosh, what's her name? She's a nice girl. Anyway, this is the whole ghost adventures things that I know. They went, said that it was the only place that they've ever gone where something followed them. I've heard many stories. I've heard many backdoor inside stories and the whole thing. Apparently also one of those stories is that the other guy, what's the other guy's name? Anyway, that's his private stuff. It caused him a lot of problems, and I think even problems with his marriage and everything else. Nick said he wasn't going to go back, and then that's what supposedly why he left. It's like paranormal drama, right? And then a couple years later, he's back there sleeping over the well. So, take that for what it's worth. I don't really, never even watched the shows that was going on there, any of those. But you do read from the background, and like I said, hear stories. So, I can't speak on that. However, again, multiple mediums. Be kind, you asked me to explain jumpers. Jumpers is, okay, I want to say an earthbound spirit. I think it's completely something different if it is done from a spirit that has ascended or crossed over. Don't ask me why. Most of the times that's called a walk-in, which is weird. Different. Don't really want to get into that one whole thing is why it's different. But a jumper is usually an earthbound spirit, not necessarily negative, that has learned how to jump into people, the living, that have some kind of what I call a crack in your windshield. You have a crack and just the right amount of pressure, it's gone, right? And it's kind of like that, but you have something, addiction, maybe you're drunk, you're at a bar, maybe you're depressed and on all those things. You have other things that are on top of it. All those things cause kind of breaks in your protection, and they can jump in. Some people are easier to jump in than others, even in that state. Okay, so it does have something to do with your own personal energy and everything else. Other things as well. You might have protection, from multiple different things. So that's usually what a jumper is. It's usually a few minutes. Usually they'll do it to start fights like we saw in the video, or taste alcohol, again, to partake. I worked in a bar. There's a chapter in my book called Shot of Tequila, No Salt, and Jumpers, Grinners, and a Shot of Tequila, No Salt. And that's in the book, We Are All Children in the Wilderness of the Afterlife, which is available on Amazon, by the way, in ebook and paperback. So there is a good chapter on that in there, and I've come across many of them, not just as a bartender, but as someone going on cases and doing things on the other side. I've met them from the other side of the bar as well, and I know a lot of people that have dealt with them too. But Bobby Mackey's definitely has quite a few, and other entities, like I said, are drawn. Like I said, think you've got a dark backyard, all of a sudden you turn on the porch light, wait a second, bugs. Kind of like that, and it's all different kinds of bugs, right? Some are moths, some are the big green gushy kind, some are those little dusty things, whatever you call those things that leave dust everywhere, or those big things that look like a big huge mosquito with extra long legs for no apparent reason, or any of those things, kind of just, it's like that. And every bug is different, and every bug is following the light for a different reason. And when they get there, they're going to stay for a different reason. and jumpers are included in that. There you go. So there's that. So this part is where I want to start getting into the women. Now, Chris mentioned Johanna. I don't know that much about her. However, what I did read about her was she was a several different accounts. So you got to figure how far back do they go? Do they have newspaper clippings? Even if it's in a newspaper back then, not necessarily the truth. It's just what they're putting in the newspaper at the time. You know, things like that. But I've heard several versions. I know Bobby Mackey has written songs about this. So again, you know, somebody says they don't believe in any of this, but I'm going to go ahead and write a song about one of the ghosts is supposed to be here and her story. And it is, again, unrequited love. She was a dancer at the club around the 40s. I believe she was a daughter of a mobster, or at least somebody was connected. Organized crime, whatever you want to call. And she fell in love with someone, with somebody who worked there at the club, a singer, I believe. And I'll tell you a little bit about that, but I'm going to read it so I get the details correct. Sorry. I get the popcorn. You get the details correct, but Johanna, I noticed, Chris, that you said that you used to smell her perfume. Now, that's one of the things where, is it a particular brand of perfume? Is it like something from back in like the 40s would be, you know, like a, gosh, you know, lilac, white shoulders is an old-timey kind of thing? Because I know there's a lot of older ones, like say if we were talking about Pearl Bryan, which we will get into next, she would probably be something like lemon verbena or rose or lilac or something like the old-timey stuff. Hey Connor, how you doing? Welcome in, sweetie. So what do you think, Chris? Was it a particular kind? Was it like you'll smell rose perfume, or was it like a, you know, usually they're real sweet. You know what I'm talking about? Like that white shoulders or Jean Naté kind of smell. It's different, right? Oh, jasmine, old time smell. Okay, great. Thanks, Chris. So that makes sense. Absolutely. That was real popular then. That does make sense, and not often worn now. At least it might be mixed into some perfumes, but nowadays, you know, it's all flowers. They just keep remixing the stuff and then rename it, you know. Hey, Sapphire Elf, welcome in. So anyhow, Johanna, let me read you what I have with her. Now, again, like I said, Bobby keeps saying he doesn't believe, but I think he's got a song about each one of these, doesn't he? I don't know. I don't listen to the music. I got to be honest. Not that one anyway, but I did go through some of his stuff, and a lot of them are these girls' names or, you know, based on the legend. So he believes something. So anyhow, it was very interesting about Johanna, but again, it was that real sad story about Daddy doesn't like who I fell in love with. So the mob and the prohibition, etc. Okay, I did mention about the slaughterhouse. So this is what I picked up from some people who did some investigations on it. It said it was not a large-scale commercial slaughterhouse, but a small home operation run by a butcher to serve local residents. Now, that doesn't really take anything away from the stories. In fact, I think it enhances it in some way, because this is a small... It's still going to be a big slaughterhouse. There's still going to be animals slaughtered. He's taking care of a town. Everything that would have to do with the story as far as the draw would be, and further kind of solidifies the whole idea of the Satanists being drawn there and all that stuff, it's still workable. But in all honesty, they went back and they looked at maps, and it is right where his property is, but up a little. The 3 tunnels, there seems to be only one left, and that shows how much it shifted off of where the old slaughterhouse really was. But again, his thing is part of it, so it doesn't really change. Just want to let you guys know that in case you hear somebody saying, that's all it takes sometimes is for somebody to say, it never really was a slaughterhouse. It was, you know, just a... And it changes everything, and in your mind automatically thinks, well, none of it's true then. Do you see what I mean? Again, JFK, a little bit of truth, whole lot of distraction, bullshit, conspiracy, filler. Okay? Does that make sense? So when you hear these stories, that one fact change doesn't necessarily make everything untrue. Okay? And I have known mediums that are going in there and picking up a head going down a dark hole. Not necessarily that well. They're saying they see a well that it's falling down or coming up from, like you saw in the picture there. I've heard it. And I've heard stories of it before this really started to be a thing. So it makes a little more sense to me. However, just people talking about it, the tulpa theory, could project that. Do I think that's what's happening? Not necessarily. And I'll tell you why here in a little bit. Okay, so that was the slaughterhouse. Again, doesn't really change the story. It just moves it over a little bit, makes it a little smaller. That's all. Okay. Now, the mob, prohibition, all of that stuff, all of that was going on. It was a big place. It was, think a hall, you know, big enough to have a big place like this in it. It's going to get used. And most of the time, not for good stuff. Okay, so all that energy is in there. Okay, the mob brought another famous ghost story to the club. A once owner of the property where Mackey stands had a daughter named Johanna. Johanna was a dancer at the nightclub. She got pregnant by Robert Randall, who was a performer in the club. Here comes another one. Got pregnant, right? Which, like I said, changes everything. You know, now you're taking care of two, right? So, he was a performer at the club. I believe he was a singer. When Johanna's father found out about the affair, he was furious. His criminal contacts came in handy, and he made sure Robert never came close to his daughter again. His daughter, 5 months pregnant, committed suicide backstage by taking poison. Now, hold on. Here's another account. Equally, it seems almost verified, but a little more information, okay? Johanna committed suicide with poison in 1940s after her father murdered her lover, Robert Randall, a singer at the club, by hanging him in the dressing room. So now you have a little added caveat on there. Was he hung there in the dressing room? Now, I don't have anything on that. I don't have anybody that's seen him hanging there, or mediums telling me about it, or people that have visited and that have seen this. I don't have any stories on that. You may have heard some. However, again, if we haven't heard it, it doesn't mean that it's not true. Now, there's also upstairs, I believe, on a wall that used to be a small office, there's a poem written out. It's all about this. You ask me when I'll not love you, I say never. I mean, it honestly sounds like the lyrics out of a Led Zeppelin song or something. You know, when the mountains crumble to the sea, I say never, you know, that kind of thing. Anyhow, it's this big, long, you know, lovelorn poem, and it is said that she wrote it there, and it's in a real scrawled writing, you know, it's basically looks like old graffiti, and which is a great name for a band, by the way. Somebody write that down. Old graffiti. It's not bad, right? It's got a little something on there. So anyway, Johanna, I've also heard, tried to poison her father, and that went wrong after she found out what he did. So it's a lot of angst and a lot of emotion there. I've also heard that a couple of mediums went there and actually crossed her. However, I heard that story about 5 years after I know a medium that went there and actually did. So here's this. Does that mean the other one isn't true? No. A ghost can be drawn back several times and get just as stuck. It's crazy. I'm telling you, it can happen. They can get called back, such as, you know, cases that I've worked on and other people telling me that, you know, we got rid of Harry, but I had to go back 3 months later. She missed him so much she called him back by talking to him and bringing him back and pulled back and forth. It's crazy to think that energy can work that way, but it's true. So did she get crossed and then have other mediums? Absolutely possible. Multiple times. Especially something where you got people up on stage singing songs about you. You got people genuinely feeling, oh gosh, it must have been awful to be her. I can't believe it. And they're really feeling that emotion when they talk about the story. It draws it out. That can call her back. It could also create a tulpa. Now you've created all this energy in one spot, you see? And I'm wondering how deep that can go. Can that go to the point where you've got other ghosts convinced that there's somebody they're not because you keep calling them Johanna? Now they don't know who they are. I believe it can happen if you think about it, you know? Shit and Kittens for a band name. Shit and Kittens, you know, what kind of music would that be, Blue? I mean, do you have a genre that goes with that? Do you have a... is it more like I'm getting a Runaways, Joan Jett, Cherry, what's her name vibe? You have something else in mind? So Tulpa, be kind. A Tulpa is a manifestation of an actual real energy that is created by thought, repetition, energy, thought, repetition, lather, rinse, repeat, until it becomes a thing. And now that can be created out of, well, it's obviously created out of energy that's already there, but where that energy came from could be all over, whether it's a combined, like a group, such as the Philip experiment, where they just kept giving this non-existent thing qualities and traits until they finally created what they said was Philip. So it's weird. You can shackle a spirit. Wait a minute. What's Chris saying here? Come on up here. You can shackle a spirit by accident just by loving them and wanting to. Absolutely. 100%. You tether them to this world by not letting them go. Chris, beautiful. Absolutely true. 100%. I'm sure there's multiple people in here that know that'll agree with that. You can. That's why I say try to counteract that sadness with happiness. Like, okay, I thought of them. This would have been the anniversary of this and this and this or that. And then, oh, hey, remember that time we got ice cream? Let's put on your favorite song. Let's eat your favorite candy bar. Let's have your favorite ice cream for you. Let's get those yellow roses and arrange them in a vase. And meanwhile, let's also dance to, Wouldn't It Be Nice by the, Beach Boys, because you love that so much. And I'll dance barefoot in the kitchen while I arrange these, and we'll have a happy moment. We're both good. Yes. So to keep them from being tethered and to keep pulling them, with loved ones that are back and forth and it's just thoughts, absolutely cool. But with these poor souls that have been yammering around inside of an old concrete block thing, and I'm just going to go ahead, being forced to listen to country music for the love of God. That's enough. Do you know what I mean? 100 years of this and being called back or misnamed, or you've got some lady who died in a car accident, half a mile down the street and was drawn to this light and this energy. Wow, what's going on over there? Let me, go there. And now she's being called Johanna because every female goes, do you see where I'm getting at? Very confusing. It's confusing as hell for the living. It's confusing as hell for the dead. So, it doesn't work. I still don't have the hot supermodel porn star I've been thinking about all these years. There you go. Maybe it's your intent. Maybe it's your intent, Glenn. Look at this. Yep. Just think harder. Just concentrate. Breathe in, breathe out. Maybe light a white candle. Hey, you can't tell me it's not possible. That lady married a 300-year-old pirate and had to get an exorcism to get a divorce. So there was paperwork involved here. I'm just saying. So anyway, the other one, I don't know that much about Johanna. I don't pretend to. I just, I feel like she's may have been crossed maybe several times. Who knows the different things that could be in there. You've got mob dealings. You've got, gambling. You've got all kinds of ill-gotten goodies going through there, And everybody's in everybody else's ill-gotten goodies. You know what I mean? You've got everything. Yeah, it was a biker bar at one time called the Hard Rock Cafe, I believe, not affiliated with the franchise. But that got closed. Somebody got shot out front fatally, and they would tear it apart. To be fights in there the whole time. So there's definitely an energy draw here. I would say more than likely it was the property to begin with. God knows what happened on that before anybody started keeping records. And it may very well be sour soil. Now let's get back to Bobby Mackey. Why is he letting his pregnant wife in there? The true story is she actually got pushed down the stairs when she was 5 months pregnant. Had the baby the next day prematurely. Happened. Both of them been talking about it on news shows, interviews, all kinds of other things. It happened many years ago, but it happened. And I think Chris said that she won't even come in, she won't go into place. I don't blame her. But I'm sitting there hearing this guy being told this, and he's not taking it seriously. And of course, it's like, again, it's like the dad, we just spent all our money on this house. I've got everything in this. We just broke our necks getting into this. Now you want to move? Same type of feel. Does it make sense? Oh, wow, Heather, that's fantastic. Synchronicity. We mentioned, wouldn't it be... It just popped into my head. So if that helped you out, or, you know, you got a connection with a loved one on that, that is fantastic. You know, fantastic. Yep. Wouldn't it be nice? That was always a good one. Yeah. Like she's a shadow being stalking. Oh, do I have shadow being stalking? Oh, you know what? It is. It's my look. You can see. It's actually my microphone. See how pixelated it is? It's a nice mic. Look and see. It's a Rode. Yep. That's what that is. And it does look like a shadow being stalking me. Oh gosh. If there's something goes on in my background or something, unless it tries to grab me, just let it go. You know, because there's no telling, and I try not to check my own cameras because God knows what I'm going to see. Things have happened, and I'm just like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Because there's all kinds of stuff probably going on back there. Patrick Swayze, Roadhouse. Oh gosh, what a great movie. Oh gosh, Sam Elliott in that. The old rundown, oh gosh, the bouncer. Oh, stop it. You'll knock me completely off track. I think I'm off anyway. I think I went to a rest stop. So anyhow, that was Johanna, and I think in some ways she's probably trying to tell her story. You know, again, I think she's been crossed over. I know that I've known good mediums, really good medium, a psychic medium that's gone in there and had a conversation with 4 female ghosts that are there. So you've got to wonder, and none of them were who she was told were there. Again, just drawn through the times. I mean, there's been multiple times, people that have died there that never got to write it up in the paper, never got a song, never got a story, never got so much as written on the bathroom wall about. Multiple over the years. You know, so you got to think about that too. That's what I'm saying. Some ghost respect, you know, because you might not be talking to Johanna, or you might not be talking to Pearl, or some of these others. Oh, great. Hey, mods, somebody needs to bake some shut the fuck up cakes really quick. And brew wrenches, ho! Get them out. That was fast too. They all come, it's like zombies over a wall, right? Do we get them? Did we wrench them yet? Here they come. So, oh, wait. Let me get the picture. We don't get to do it all the time. You guys bake the cupcakes and I'll get the picture. Hold on. Here we go. Do 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 da 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 dum ba dum bum 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 boom boom. There you go. Did we wrench them? Which is a ho! There, we got it. You guys already got it before I saw it, didn't you? Black Ops mods. Thank you, gatekeepers. Okay, so there's that. Now I've got this little video, and I want to tell you a little bit more. And if nothing else tonight, Chris, if you knew all this stuff when you went in there too, I'm sure you knew the stories. And everybody tells the story. You know, I get it. But my thing is, how did we get to Pearl, who lost her head, whose head got thrown down the well as a satanic sacrifice? Not saying that's not true. Wrenches unite, yeah. And I'm not saying that's not true. I'm hearing that her body was found, she was killed about 4 miles away. So I also dug up a lot of articles that said, can't be her. Well, obviously not written by people that were really into the paranormal, or at least worked with a lot of earthbound spirits, because it's absolutely possible. Especially if she was that far away, and obviously her body, you know, think about it. This poor girl, when you hear her story, you know, if anybody deserved to be stuck due to a bad passing and be confused, it would be her. And people keep talking about her and calling her in and calling her back. She's got songs about it. And I'm just thinking, this was a poor girl, 22 years old. Could have been any one of us, in our younger years, whatever, right? Fell in love, just like Kate here, Kate Morgan, with the wrong guy. And, that doesn't mean all guys are bums. Again, women have done this to men. I know just as many stories, where women have taken men for, to the bank, through the cleaners, however you want to, whatever you want, euphemism you want to put in there. So, but she was a young girl. She was a young girl who came from a pretty affluent family, and just wanted to get the hell out of her town, and met somebody that, she probably put a little too much stock in. It's an age-old story. So here we go. It's just a little bit about her, and once you see some of these pictures, and Mairead, if you got to go to sleep, I love you, sweetie. Sweet dreams with glitter. With glitter, baby. Sweet dreams. Keep your feet under the covers and keep your closet door shut. Just go check that stuff before you go completely out, okay? All right, here we go. And I think it is... Yep. Here we go. Stop for a second. I gotta ask Blue something. Doesn't this have a little bit of that Logs of Messina on stage vibe to it? It's got a little stink on it, doesn't it? It's good. I like it. Anyhow, there you go. Enjoy. It's a good song.
why Bobby Mackey's here in Wilder is considered one of the most haunted nightclubs in the country. I got a little history lesson from Angie Johnson of Gatekeeper Paranormal, who's been doing tours here since 2012.
The mob actually, they purchased this property in the early 1900s and even into the 50s and possibly 60s. And there's some rumors that even today, right, that there's some of that activity.
Violent activity. That combined with other urban legends has made this a hotbed for people seeing and hearing things.
99% of the time, there is usually a scientific explanation for what we are experiencing. There's just that 1% that you can't explain. We have heard what sounds like a female voice humming or singing, and there's been many times that we have heard what sounds like heavy footsteps back in the behind stage. We often will hear heavy footsteps on the dance floor. We'll even hear chairs scooting. Plain as day, you can hear a female voice say, "Yoo-hoo, I'm here, hello." But a lot of people claim that they'll feel what feels like a cat kind of rubbing up against their legs. And there's a young man that was leaning up against this pool table, and she described him to perfect detail. He's there 1 second, and the next he's gone.
Johnson says she personally has seen a lot of these things.
Hello? we're hearing things over here. Hello? Is there someone there? I just heard something over there.
A lot of the time, she attributes it to Carl, the old caretaker who used to live upstairs, who recently passed.
He was bathing, taking a bath, and he felt two hands grab his shoulders and try to push him under. There was an exorcism performed on him up here in this area.
While the upstairs is creepy enough, Johnson then took me down to the basement.
And here is what people refer to as the portal to hell. We've had things thrown at people in here, just nothing violent, just like little pebbles to get your attention.
All the while, I'm skeptical until...
Did you hear that? That's upstairs.
We then proceed to what Johnson says was a torture chamber.
I have watched grown men, such as yourself, in here and just panic and run out.
And of course the wall of faces, just to round things out. At the end of the tour, we tried to communicate.
Hello, is there anyone in here with us today?
To no avail, which was honestly fine by me. But if you want your chance at seeing something that'll send shivers to your spine, Bobby Mackey's is a great place to start. In Wilder, Sam Neff, Spectrum News.
It's an old story about a well in the basement. What got tossed into.
What does that got to do with anything?
Well, maybe everything. They said it happened 100 years ago. A woman was found murdered, all cut up. They caught the two killers. On the day of their hanging, the first man went down without a sound. Then the judge tried to make a deal with the other. If he told where he put her head, he'd only get life.
You bastard. Tell us.
I'll tell you nothing.
Wait!
I curse you, and men like you. Many think that they can judge me. Any man who presumes to interfere with the work of the Dark Lord shall suffer for all time. May your God help you.
They say he was hung right outside.
Anything else you haven't told us? Why didn't you say something earlier?
Okay, oops. That fiddle player just didn't want to stop. I'm reading all the interesting things you guys are saying in here. Okay. Do I think Alonzo and what's his name? Scott Jackson? Maybe what was his name? Yeah, I think it is. It'll come up anyway. Were Satan worships? Don't know. Don't know. I think they had to have some kind of screw loose to do what they did. Even if you think about this, now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the backstory of these, and then we're out of here, because I know I've kept you guys late. I'm so sorry. But it really gets to me when I think about these patterns and these things. Now, you think about it. Johanna, 5 months pregnant. Maybe poisons her dad, doesn't get away with it, or doesn't work. I read it was arsenic, very prominent back then. Cocaine was also legal and given for a lot of people took cocaine for a hangnail, and just it was like crazy. They were lousy with it, that and laudanum and stuff like that. So is it, it's very possible she got a hold of it and she tried to do something like that when she found out he killed her husband, or her boyfriend, who she fell in love with. Maybe he hung him in the closet, maybe not. Again, doesn't matter. It does, but not for the story part of it. Johanna's story could absolutely be true. But again, 5 months pregnant. Pearl, 5 months pregnant. Bobby Mackey's wife, 5 months pregnant. She gets pushed down the stairs, warned that this thing is after the owners. Again, I don't know, that kind of has a little flimsy on there for me. I think it's just anybody that's there. Does it have something about pregnant women? I don't know. Maybe if they are Satanists, just think about it this way, be devil's advocate, kind of, so to speak, here for a second. Then a pregnant woman would be a good sacrifice. That's how they think. The innocence of it. Is there something there that's doing that? Is it something there that was promised stuff and they have to appease it? All of these things could be true, and they could all be true at the same time. Right? The way I see it, this place is probably got a real heavy feeling about it. Anybody I've ever heard just walked in there feels it before they get there. Again, people tend to overlook that when it's a bar because you're already expecting that kind of energy walking in. You hear the music, you're getting out of the car, you can already feel the vibe, you know what I mean? A lot of time that's overridden by your own excitement and your own adrenaline, right? All these things can be true. So, do I think these guys were into it? Possibly could be. When you hear what they did, you would have to be an absolute psychopath. And psychopaths do some major wild things when you're an obstacle in their way of what they want. And they absolutely justify it in their head. It had to be done. They were in the way. We see this throughout time. We're seeing it now, for Pete's sakes. For the greater good. It doesn't matter, how many are hurt or whatever. It's for the greater good. It's for this thing that we want. We're right about it, and that's what these guys had in their head. So I'm going to play this other one, and we're out of here. But I'm going to read to you a combination of multiple places. One of them that I got a paragraph from, I absolutely credited her, Shannon Byers, and she is from americasmosthaunted.com. So if you want to read her whole column there, she's got like 3 pages of the backgrounds on all these guys, where they were the months and weeks ahead, where they were that day, what they did, how they reacted, how they went down. Now, do I think their curse on the gallows has weight? You bet I do. How many stories have we seen? How many things have we read about curses? Which is why this was good coming after the one we had last week. Had that kind of thing, like before a witch was burned, a supposed witch was burned at the stake. I cursed this town, and so many things happened, and nothing ever went right there. We've talked about it. Yes, I believe it's possible. My Nana believed it was possible. My great-grandmother believed it was possible. My mother believed it was possible. Everything I've gone through my whole life and seen is probable, especially with all this stuff flying around now with all the negativity and everything, which is why it's so important for you to protect your own square foot of real estate. Protect your home, protect yourself with whatever you deem comforting and rooting and rejuvenating to you. You know, whether that's your prayer or meditation or a combination of multiple things. I think many people nowadays are doing a combination of their own thing that works for them. I think that's great. But again, put an extra thing of the unknown, you know, that golden bubble of light, and put yourself in that and rejuvenate the way you need to do to get that done, you know. And right now, the best way to do that is probably gardening and getting back to nature, playing music, doing all those good things, right? Because you have to rejuvenate that light. You can't let anything put that light out. You have to keep it going, and a light needs fuel, and you have to give it fuel. And if you want a bright light, you give it that love energy. You got to take time to love yourself too and rejuvenate. You know, hug a tree, damn it. Okay? You know, put your feet in the ground, make fists with your toes in the grass, stick your hands in the dirt, take care of nature, feed birds, listen to the birds, watch the birds, chill with the birds. You know, it's a process. You know, play good music in the background, do it, or bake cookies, eat the freaking cookies. Whatever you need to do. Okay? But do something. Because this evil is out there. And it's not just psychopathic humans. It's psychopathic humans that are using other things to give them power so they can achieve the things they want. And if one of those things is not letting a good, I just got to say it, life go to waste here, they're going to sacrifice it and use it as a sacrifice. Again, do I think that's possible? Yes. Do I think it happened? Possibly. Especially since multiple mediums have gone in there and seen a vision similar to that. And I've asked several of them, not all, but several of them, do you think it was a manifestation of all the energy of people constantly talking about it? Or do you think this is the visual she's using because so many people are familiar with that and she's reaching out for help, and she's showing you that because it's a shortcut to, I'm Pearl, I need help. All of these things could be true, and many things I haven't thought about. So I'm just giving you some ideas here so you can better unravel this big basket of yarn we call the paranormal, because, again, just because they tell you her body was 4 miles away doesn't mean she couldn't be there, especially with all the attention. So I'm going to read you this. I absolutely, again, want to give Shannon Byers, Byers, heads up on this, because she wrote a great column, and like I said, she really dug into a lot of information, as well as other things that are mixed in here, other information I picked up along the way, with a little background video. Some of these pictures, you're going to see Pearl growing up, you know, kind of how she was, and imagine the time, and there's so many pictures of her, there's like at least 5 or 6, and we're going back to 1890. Okay, so you had to be involved in things. She was very involved in things in the town, you know, things that would be like the ladies' auxiliary, the church. She was a Sunday school teacher. Yes, a Sunday school teacher, and she died this way. It's appalling in every which way. Thank you, Uncommon Belief, for dropping that link. There is the link to America's Most Haunted.com. You can get the full article there. It's very well written, and Susan Byers, very good. So here we go. A little bit of background. If it's too loud, I'll turn it down. But and I will stop it a couple of times. But you're going to see the valise. When you hear valise, it's a bag. It's a big, like, overnight bag. It's bigger than a briefcase, and it's kind of all squished in the picture, but it really does open up, more of about the size of a little bigger than a bowling bag or a doctor's bag, bigger than that. But this is what they carried, and it's actually on display with other things from this murder. And, you know, I have to say, I find it a little disgusting that they have all this stuff, but then again, we've all been to museums and we've seen, you know, this just, but when you zero in on it, it does seem just, this poor girl, man, just, you know, wanted to be in a different place other than Greenville and fell in love with the wrong guy, right? So here we go. If it's too loud, I'll turn it down. I have to read through all this mess here. No, that's not too loud. One last time on the song. The tragic saga of Pearl Bryan. The last decade of the 1800s was a murderous one. Bloody Victorian crimes made sensational headlines in all the prominent newspapers. In 1896, just after the Lizzie Borden murders and the horrific H.H. Holmes killings, another brutal and appalling murder case gripped the nation. Shannon Byers wrote, and I quote, "This case included unrequited love, chemistry, chemical conspiracy, criminal conspiracy, chemical conspiracy too, feticide, ghoulish mobs collecting and selling murderabilia, a fetus in a peppermint stick jar, and an elaborate manhunt for a head." Just about every newspaper in the nation revealed in this tragic saga all the intimate details of the life of Pearl Bryan. Now, the picture you're looking at right here is an actual picture of where they found her body. And there's the guy standing there with it right next to the thing. I'm going to stop it for a section just to get through this one part here. Okay. Born between 1872 and 1874 in Greencastle, Indiana, she was very involved in her town and a Sunday school teacher. In the spring of 1895, Pearl met Scott Jackson. He was friends with William Wood, Pearl's cousin. Scott was a dental student. They courted, and Pearl was extremely smitten. She saw a way out of her little town. Right before Scott left for school in October, he and Pearl became intimately involved. After he had left for Cincinnati to continue his dental school, Pearl discovered that she was pregnant. Jackson did not express an intent to marry her. In fact, he expressed his disdain to Wood, her cousin. Now, they would write letters back and forth, this guy, this jerk face, and her cousin, talking about Pearl and her pregnancy. What is she going to do? What do you think we should do? Well, they start conspiring, being that he's a dental student, that they are going to give her, tell her to take all these concoctions to cause a miscarriage. So that ensues. And there's all these letters back and forth that say all this. Well, try this one, mix it with this. I mean, everything from arsenic to cocaine to a mixture of everything in between. And she drank it. She did what she was asked to do. Scott and William had exchanged correspondence that included various recipes for concoctions thought to induce miscarriage. Pearl tried all of these unsuccessfully. Can you imagine? Jackson refused to marry her. They came up with a plan for her to come to Ohio for an abortion. William Wood put Pearl on a train on January 28th, and that was the last time he saw her alive. Jackson gave Pearl drugs that he hoped would cause her to abort. A druggist from a local pharmacy stated that he had sold Scott a large amount of cocaine, which was legal at the time, and a bartender at Wallingsford Saloon testified that he had seen Scott mix something into her drink early in the evening the night she was killed. Still going on today. Can you believe this horse shit? Okay. Anyway, get my, these people. The cocaine did not work as planned, and late that night, Jackson and his friend Alonzo Walling, which was just his roommate, and the guy just goes along with this stuff. This is the Alonzo Walling. He's only known the guy a year. Hey, I got this girl pregnant. She's getting on a train. Her cousin's putting her on a train, a death train. She's coming out here, thinks she's going to get an abortion. I'm going to give her this stuff. If it doesn't work, I'm going to whack her. You want to help me out? The guy says, yeah, sure. You know, no problem. I'm right there with you. And that's basically what's going on. I'm getting all these messages. So basically that's what's going on. And she's drinking this stuff. God knows what. Turpentine, Lysol. What's this girl drinking? And this whole time, not wanting her parents to know, not wanting everybody to think she's got a friend in her cousin who's betraying her. The evil man. Okay. Anyway, the friend Alonzo, the roommate, and the good buddy now, hired a carriage driver. Will you help me hide a body? Jerks. Anyway, carriage driver, he hired his carriage driver named George to take them on what would be Pearl's last ride. This poor thing, 22. George drove through the night, the last half at gunpoint. because he was about done. Pearl's in the back. She's moaning and groaning. She's waking up from whatever the hell they gave her, arsenic and cocaine in her sarsaparilla. It actually said in her sarsaparilla. I kid you not. Anyway, and George was getting scared. Pearl's condition and the moaning and the crying, and God knows what they were doing to shut her up. I don't know what was going on, but anyway, he had to finish the last part of the carriage ride at gunpoint. And Alonzo was the one who jumped up with the gun. So, good buddy roommate, right? So, Alonzo forced him on, and eventually onto Grandview Avenue, where John Locke's farm was located. Scott and Alonzo dragged Pearl out of the carriage and into the night. There was a forest, like a thicket there. You see the picture here? It was wooded area beyond that on this side of the fence, and they killed her over here in the ditch. George took off running into the night when he heard Pearl scream, and he didn't look back. He just kept running. Can you imagine? When Pearl's body was discovered at the Locke farm the next morning, the coroner would later testify that Pearl had been alive when she was decapitated, because arterial spray was found on leaves as high as 3 feet off the ground, and some papers reported as 6 feet. And the ground was soaked with at least 3 inches of her blood. This poor thing. She fought like cats and dogs. Came out of, I'm sorry guys, I'm getting messages and I can't see the chat. Okay. She fought like cats and dogs. She had all kind of defense wounds on her hands, fighting off the knife. Her clothes were in shreds all over the place. I guess they picked them up here. I don't see them, but again, it's an old picture. I don't know, but that's her. And she was alive when they cut off her head. Now, I don't understand other than identification. Maybe that's why the clothes and everything else, why they would take her head, unless it was part of a ritual of some sort. I just don't see a lot of the ritual stuff in the correspondence and the letters back and forth, and I think this was more of a psychopath. I'm going to dental school. This girl is too much. The baby won't die. I'm going to kill her. I can't imagine taking the extra time to take the head, which must have been horrific, with a knife, hacking away and all this, and her screaming, and this Alonzo character just kicked right in. Where do you find people? So that's 2. We think now, look at all the horrific people now, and I wish things were the way it used to be. People have always been like this. The stuff, you heard about H.H. Holmes and everything else, I mean, humans have always been doing really shitty things to other humans, and it's terrible. It really is. Anyway, so all hell broke loose when they found the body. A macabre mob of people swarmed the area looking for keepsakes. And this is something else they did. They did the same thing with Black Dahlia and a whole bunch of other murders. We've all heard it. Entrepreneurs set up souvenir stands. Pearl's murder lined a lot of pockets. Her unborn 5-month-old fetus ended up in a jar that had held peppermint sticks at a drugstore, and people paid for the privilege of seeing it. Horrible, horrible humans. Pearl was finally identified by the tag in the shoes she was wearing. I'm going to let this run because I think I have a picture of the shoes. That's really amazing for the time. They traced it back to where she bought the shoes, and that's the only way they could identify her. Of course, back then they didn't have the fingerprints and all that kind of stuff, so. Oh gosh. So Pearl was finally identified by the tag in the shoes she was wearing, and Scott and Alonzo were arrested in Ohio. The family and detective tried repeatedly to get Jackson and Whaling to reveal what they had done with Pearl's head. They never would get a straight answer from them. 2 separate individuals testified that Jackson had carried around Pearl's valise the day after she was killed. There it is right there. And had asked each to store it. The bartender at Wallingford, some bartender at Wallingford sees them put something in the drink, and then he takes the suitcase with her head in it, keeps it behind the bar. Never been asked to do that. Got a couple of head stories from being a bartender, but never asked to hold one behind a bar, ever. Anyway, the bartender at Wallingford's had jokingly asked if it carried a bowling ball because the weight inside rolled around. Creepy. Are you kidding me? Scott Jackson and Alonzo Walling were both convicted of the murder and hanged on March 20th, 1897. Here's Pearl's little caveat. Now you tell me, comeuppance. Their necks did not break during the hanging, and they both took at least 4 minutes apiece to die of asphyxiation. I can't say asphyxiate. They choked. They cut off the oxygen. They died. They smothered. 4 minutes. Kicking. But not before they cursed. Obviously, Bob Mackey's. The valise that she brought to Cincinnati had her blood and hair analysis and proved it carried her head. So Pearl is speaking from the other side. They did have her head. It was in the suitcase. The bartender held it behind the bar, and then it disappeared. Most people think that he took it back on the train with him to dental school, where they had a furnace and got rid of a lot of bodies that they practiced on in dental school. Again, creepy. But that's another possibility. Yeah. Anyway, it's possible that he carried it back to Campbell County. I'm sorry. The valise is at Campbell County Historical Society, along with some other artifacts from the case. Her unborn baby, preserved in a candy jar, was lost after time and almost certainly never got a proper burial. So, there you go. Rest in peace. There's a little more to the story there, guys. A little more to the story. What this person went through in her life. Yeah, be kind. It is a long time. That's what all the papers said. They probably kicked around for, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then eventually just went blue and stopped moving. Basically, that's what happened. But a little maybe on, I hate to see anybody suffer, but now there was bloodhounds used, and they did, oddly enough, trace back from where her body was to where Bob Mackey's is now. They also ran to a reservoir, and they drained that. Like $2,000 was spent to drain and look for the head there. None was found. A couple of years later, a skull was found not far from where her body was found on Locke's farm. It was never identified that it was her, or whether it was a male or female, or could have been her. Nothing's been written on it as far as I could find. But like the one guy said that was talking about it, how many heads could there be? In a field like that, that's around Bob Mackey's, around that property, what it was before with the mob, the torture chamber for the mob. It was a place where they took people to get them to tell all they knew. And we've all seen the movies, the baseball bats and everything else, and, get a little Sunday Mass in after the fact. So, God knows what's happened on that property. I think, personally, if I had to say now, I'll say it again, I think it was sour soil before they got it. It seems like so many of these atrocities are in one spot. Somebody's writing, be kind, good word. People are selling bloody leaves to onlookers. I don't understand. But this 22-year-old was scared. She was hanging on, trusting the guy maybe last minute. He'll want to marry me and everything will be okay, and I'll be a wife of a dentist, and it's all going to be good, and I'll be able to take care of my baby. And the next thing you know, she's being drugged and her head's being cut off, and she's fighting for her life. Johanna, similar a story. Unfortunately, Bob Mackey's wife went through a little of her stuff. So there's some women that are actually speaking from the grave. So what do? Do we go in, we stop talking about her? No, I don't think we stop. But I think it can change. I think that now we're starting to get about more in that little bit of more of that, putting that emotion back. The science can stay. That's fine, You're never going to be able, well, I don't want to say never, but it's going to be hard to get a ghost to produce for scientists and have it, oh, do it again, do it again, do it again. And that's the thing, repetition, being able to make it happen. This isn't science. This is different. This is emotion. This is energy. This is real lives. This is, you know, I can't imagine going out like that. And if you are an earthbound spirit, what is your anxiety level? What is your emotion? What is your energy like? Are you erratic? Do you know you're dead? My God, you don't have a head anymore. Can you still see? You know, can you still, you know where you are? And to write songs, I'm sure it's a lovely song, but to make all this stuff up. This woman's baby was kept in a peppermint stick jar, and people paid to see it. So that says a lot about the energy around, and I think over 100 years we can maybe do a little bit better. And maybe if we go in there to investigate, or in other places to investigate, think a little bit more. Like maybe not go in with preconceived notions. You might not be talking to her. You might be talking to somebody else, because I'm sure that place has drawn many a spirit over many centuries and will continue to do so, like many places that don't even get talked about, you know. So, yeah, that's, you know, and the hands too, Sue. I think that maybe that's where they were going. And it's possible that people tried to justify, you know, in the day in their own heads and had to say it had to be something satanic for people to do things like this. And that's a good argument, because it's hard for good people to wrap their heads around something that could be so evil and unfeeling as a psychopath, or, you know, any of those mental things that just make you do stuff cold. You have no emotion about it, no regret, no nothing. Serial killer, boom. You know, H.H. Holmes was one of the coolest cucumbers in court. Same deal, you know. And do I think it's a portal to hell? No, I don't. I think it can become one. I think people going there and conjuring, of course there's people who have done that, you know. Again, same reasons, for power, to have an ability that nobody else has, to get a, you know, a one-up on the next guy, to get the job at the office, to get the girl, to get back at the girl, you know, all of the things that people would call in something like this, and not realize that it has a price tag you may not want to pay, a hefty one. So I think people probably said that back in the day to try to wrap their heads around it. It had to be satanic, because no normal thinking person would do something like this, when we know doggone good and well many people do stuff like this. But for one girl who was 22, you know, in 1897, still talked about today, what her family went through, what she went through in her last minutes, what she went through in her last months, you know, it's devastating. And all that stuff has powerful energy. What Johanna went through, what people being tortured in that building went through, what the animals went through, the energy. So that's what it's all about. And tonight we had Kate and a couple other people coming back and telling their story. Even Bodie, you know, something there doesn't want to be forgotten, and something there wants to tell its story. Is it, you know, is it the guy Bodie that came from Poughkeepsie, New York, and started the town, and, you know, never got to see it realize his dream because he froze to death going for supplies? You know, can things like that have effects on territory, on the ground, on the rocks, on the trees, on the people? You know, my people say it's written in the wind, and the wind remembers. You know, these things have consequences. These things have lessons in them. They have horror in them. And I think it's also a way to look at not just how we get ourselves into situations, but also how we react to them. And I think we can do better than selling leaves with blood on them and makeshift stands along with our lemonade and having a picnic around the place where they found the body. But then you shoot, a couple of decades of Black Dahlia, same type of stuff, And I think we even have that today. I mean, people are buying, paintings that people are painting in jail because they're in there for life sentence because they killed, 20, 30 people horrifically. So what does that say? Can we remember these people with a little bit more? So we go in with more of a respect, I guess, and a little bit more emotion, maybe some kindness that they didn't feel in their life. And I think that's why people who go into these investigations not only deflect the negative and really mess with it, but it connects with those that are an energy that is a lot more gentle and a lot more confused and very much oppressed in some cases by those negative entities and held back. And you can get that rare moment where you can reach in and almost have that Kate Morgan connection that she had with that lawyer who just went there to look into a case. And she had that connection. They had that rare moment. You saw what it did to him, the real guy that told the story. I know what I saw. I was so moved I bought her a headstone. There's people like that doing that on YouTube right now, connecting with the forgotten, like Faces of the Forgotten on YouTube. And there's others. There's Lamar, I forget what it's called, Lamar at Large, another guy. They're very respectful about it, and they tell their stories so they're not forgotten, because nowadays it goes in the news, it's a flash across the screen at the bottom, it's a TikTok-y thing or something else, and there's real lives behind this, and they do have consequences, and how we react to it has consequences, not only to them but to us. So that's just something to think about, and I'm glad these ladies have gotten a chance to tell their story. And I also wanted to say, too, that it doesn't throw the whole baby out with the bathwater thing if you find out that this one fact was shifted just a little bit, or this was shifted over there. Because somewhere under all this lies the truth. And in the truth is real lives and real past lives that still might be lingering now and just want to be respected and remembered and loved because they weren't shown any of that when they were here. They may have had it and just young and looking for the outside world and reading the magazines. Gosh, we've all been through it. Got connected with the wrong person. And it's the thing that keeps parents up at night, because, you know why? Because parents remember when they were teenagers and they know what the kids are out doing. And unfortunately, this happens. So, for the living and the dead, let's remember these ladies tonight. And, remember towns like Bodie, because that town was once alive and kicking, and it doesn't want to be forgotten either in some weird way. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Tomorrow night, I don't know what Steve and I are doing. Again, I'm so sorry I couldn't be at the Hoover House. Donnie, Laura, I know Laura's out there listening. Rob, I love you, baby. I heard you had a great time, and I heard you really connected with a lot of stuff, and I heard you're going back. So I think that's wonderful, and I hope to be there the next time. But everybody's healthy and home safe, and that's the most important thing. So they want to be, here it is right here. Thank you for writing that out, Be Kind. They want to be respected, remembered, and loved. And that resonates with me too, sweetie, because I can tell you, Gray can tell you, a lot of these people in here tonight that are going to be listening that I know have that ability and have had that experience where you go into a place that nobody has had any response. And that one ghost that's crouching down in the corner, that's been sitting there shaking and watching whatever they see go on around them over eons, and who knows what time is like to them. And you walk in that right vibration, and they see something different, a little bit different. And they just lift their head up enough to pay attention. That's all you need. Right there. That's your shot. That's your shot. Show them love. Show them you care. connect with them. One of the quickest crossings I ever had was when I sat in a room full of strangers and they called me in and I sat down and told you the story about the little girl. And the minute I started focusing in on her frequency and her energy and started pouring out love as a mom, I started thinking about how much I love my kids and how much I love them, that they're grown men. You know? And I connected in there as a mom, and you could see me get her attention. You could feel her lift her head and look at me. It was amazing. So don't tell me that can't happen. Like happened with Kate Marie and Ken. And if you're into this and you want to learn something about this and you want to connect with your inner light, connect with somebody else's. Nothing is brighter than when two connect like that, two lights. It's amazing. We do it all the time. We blow through it. It might be as quick as opening the door at a Wawa for somebody. That little feeling you get, that kind of cool, like that was good. You know, seconds. Sometimes that's all it takes. It's just enough for a ghost who's been in the darkness for so long to not only see the light, but feel it. And that, my friends, is what we need to focus on. The feel. The feel. We need to feel for these women. And we need to feel for all the unsung women who have gone through the same thing, and the unsung men who have gone through the same things, and the kids. Because when you put that back out there, react to it with love. Kills the darkness. I love y'all. Put out the darkness. Eat the good cookies. Keep your feet under the covers. Keep your closet doors shut. Because there are things that go bump in the night. And keep your damn head. I love y'all. Good night, everybody. Maybe. I love you. I don't know what we're doing tomorrow night with Steve. He is so busy, but I'm sure we'll be here yakking on about something and having a good time with you wonderful people. I love you all, gatekeepers. Keep your big fat candles burning. Good night.